What a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Henrik86, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Steve ALM, Maria Neelands, David Robinson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Liam Nedrick, Dank, Edwin Johnson, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Joshua Balsimo, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, God Rockin, Kirsten Smith, Tina Baker, Alexander Main and David Wayne Foster. So a massive shout out again of thanks and appreciation to all of you who support me on Patreon. Now we are joined by several people in the Discord live stream, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Are you out of your mind? You know how long they lived?
Oh shit! We're supposed to live twice, a minimum of twice as long as we.
What's wrong with you? Vacuum is not a brand name.
It's a good name, that, isn't it?
Is it dumber? Is it?
If God wanted us to live longer, He would make our joints more durable, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Thanks, Mole
It
Man.
has nothing to do with the foods that we're eating, all the processed nonsense and sugars and starches. There's nothing to do with that, right? It's that God didn't want us to live. No, we were created to live forever. We're eternal beings.
That's why I asked, what did you do for a living, Neil? You said you're on your knees most of the time. Is it like construction, is it?
Yeah, flooring. I install flooring.
Well, that's your problem, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I know that. But like I'm saying, when I'm working, it never acts up. It's when I'm not working, when it gets slow and I got time off, that's when it freaking acts up. So, I mean, I did work the other day. I really had to push myself. I took my son with me, but I was in serious pain. Good morning, Nathan.
Morning.
Right, Nathan.
Hello, am I still coming in?
Yep, I can hear you, Neil. Nathan, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good.
Would anyone like to hear a joke?
Sure, go ahead. As long as it's not too rude.
What do you call a Chinese man flying a plane?
What do you call... Say it again.
What do you call a Chinese man flying a plane?
Don't know.
A pilot, you racist.
A pilot, you racist.
It's good,
Very
that,
good.
isn't it?
Very good.
What was the punchline?
A pilot, you racist. What do you call a black man flying a plane? A pilot.
Oh, I got it. A pilot, you racist.
Very
Like
good.
that, isn't it?
Kind of makes sense.
Oh, okay. It didn't land the way I wanted.
Boom,
Pardon the pun.
boom.
That one did. So you have a sense of humor, vacuum.
I've got a great sense of humour, Neil.
You're not out just to break Nathan's balls.
I don't know what he's got against me. He keeps muting me.
That's an Americanism that we may not be familiar with. I know what that means, but maybe Neil explain it.
I've seen Goodfellas.
So you know what breaking your balls means then, right?
Yeah, I know.
Sort of like the steering wheel that's driving you nuts.
I think my favourite people on here are you.
Me? Oh, thanks.
I think it's Neil and Steve because they both sound like they're in the movies.
Your light's coming on, Steve, but I don't see anything. Hold on. Maybe I've got you on. Joined? No? No one else here, Steve. I think I've got a twitchy Discord server today. Anybody? Can you hear Steve, Neil?
I heard him this earlier. I haven't heard him recently.
Light's flashing on, but is fair enough. Okay, it's not me then.
I think he just dropped.
Yeah, I've got to take him off server mute now. Oh no, he must be a mod or something because he's not on server mute.
How about now?
Yeah, we hear you, Steve. You're a movie star,
Yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, I was just joking vacuum there.
I think you sound like a bit like John Wayne.
I don't think he sounds like
Yeah,
the
that's
narrator.
good.
You know who the narrator is?
Which one?
Like the narrator. He's in stuff like The Big Lebowski. He's the guy who talks to the Big Lebowski at the bar.
Oh yeah. He does got that kind of tone.
Yeah, it's always best to keep your sense of humor in days like today's and days.
Hey, there's a guy on 24/7 Discord that if I had his voice, I'd be doing commercials all over the place. Helio? Anybody know Helio?
Helioskeptic.
Yeah, he's got that voice, boy.
That's what I've spent the last 2 or 3 months studying. Absorption coefficients of various materials so I can acoustically treat the room. Make me sound better. And make you sound better to me, as in, you will be clearer.
So you're basically a perfectionist. You're going to keep going with this.
It's just broadcasting, isn't it? It's anything to do with sound. Especially as I've got a background in it, I should really have paid a lot more attention to it from day one. It's just a very expensive endeavour, so it's only when you're actually into it, making a living doing it, that you're like, right, I need to take this a bit more seriously then. And
I gotta tell Nathan, I gotta tell you a story. I've been meaning to tell you for a while. In the 80s, my cousin's husband used to drive from, before they were married, he used to come from California to Brooklyn. He had a Z28 that had a sound system that you could not equal anywhere. He would take, like, say, a Buick Electra and put the same exact system he had in his car, and it still wouldn't sound the way that Z28 sounded. And he had everything. He had electronic crossovers. I think he had like 12-inch woofers in the back, mid-range, tweeters. He had everything. And this car sounded, I can't even explain how it sounded.
Sounded great outside the car, right?
I mean, you hear these boom boxes in like the ghetto neighborhoods, but they're always like bassy and tinny. His car would drive past and you would just feel it. The sound was crystal clear. I mean, I can't even describe it, but he was a big sound guy. And he came and he never let anybody play a cassette. He was like, you don't hear the hissing? You got to get compact disc. We didn't even know what a compact disc was. Yeah, he had some sound system, but he could never duplicate it in another car. Unless he was doing it on purpose, I don't know. But I think it had to do with the acoustics of the way that the Z28 was shaped.
I doubt it. Was it open top or was it a proper coupe?
No, it was closed.
Closed. Because acoustically, you can't get a worse environment. You're in a fishbowl. So cars are really difficult to get sounding right.
He had Nathan. This sound system. We brought a deaf girl in the car. She ran out because she was feeling the music.
Don't get me wrong. I've heard cars sound exceptionally good, and it boggles my mind how it's achieved because it's such a terrible environment to try and make sound good. But yeah, you can't. I've heard good sounding cars. But like I say, it's very difficult because it's essentially a fishbowl. Loads of glass. The main song he used to play was "Fly on the Windscreen" by Depeche Mode. I mean, the car came alive because all the lights in front used to be flashing, and the car was alive. Cool.
A lot of sound insulation in a car. Sound good.
That's the problem. You can't squeeze enough in. Too small a space.
A few cars with friends that we've been putting isolation or insulation in quite a lot on all the metal surfaces. Sound pretty decent.
Yeah, what you can achieve in a car with that is stopping the metal pieces ringing with the sound or vibrating with the sound, which just takes away from the already fairly naff sound that you get out of a car. And obviously, if you've got a metal panel ringing, it sounds even worse. So if you can eliminate all of that, at least you've got a reasonable starting point. The problem is you haven't got enough. There's not enough volume, and it's all glass, which is a terrible surface. It just sounds bad when sound reflects off it.
And from the windows. It's no
Well,
way.
an open top car. So I've been in open top cars that have got fairly modest stereos, but because essentially there's no real acoustics to worry about, they can sound absolutely glorious. Open top cars, it doesn't matter what the stereo is, you can get them to sound 1,000 times better than than a coupe. But I hate open top cars. It's just not. They have scuttle shake and they twist when you go around bends and things, which is rubbish.
A lot of bass out of a closed car, but it's not there.
Well, that's why I said outside the car, because you've just got all of this pressure that even if you put massive sub bass units and all that stuff in a car, you haven't got enough air to move. So outside the car, you can get those really long, even more than you can get in a room. Often you just open all the car doors, right, and open the boot if it's got a sub in, and stand a reasonable distance away from it. It can sound really nice because it's out in the open air. It's not bouncing off anything. So you can actually get a car you're in a perfect environment, even though a car's not perfect, to just reproduce sound without hearing a room, which is the ideal environment. It's one of those things. If you've never done it, even if you've got a cheap stereo, take it outside, somewhere there's no reflections, no room around you, and just listen to it. And it sounds amazing, like you've never heard your stereo before. So that's just... I did it once at my folks up in Shropshire, and it's not only is it open enough to do this, there's also very little going on. Occasionally there'd be sheep around, but if there wasn't any sheep around, it was very quiet. And I just remember doing it and thinking, wow, this equipment's amazing. It must be because there's really clean mains here or something. And it wasn't. It was just because it's outside. There's no room acoustics to worry about as such. And the same applies to a car. Fall down the top.
So Nathan, why don't they record music outside then? I don't understand. Why do they have studios?
They do. You can record anywhere you like.
Have.
So there's a big difference between tracking music, recording it, and mixing music. So when you're tracking music, you can track it anyway. You can track it in a church, and then you capture all the ambience of the church, right? Well, that's wonderful. But then when you're actually trying to get that to be a recording that can then play back in a car, that's the mixing stage. Well, the mixing stage is totally different to the recording stage. Capturing weird acoustics is part of capturing the recording of the music, but recording and mixing are very different things.
Okay.
Yeah, they have sound dampening materials, so that.
Yeah, if you're in a mixing studio, I mean they do crossover. There's obviously acoustic treatment in both, but the mixing environment is trying to be as sort of dead as possible. It's trying to take away a wall of the room so that you've got an environment that's only what you're hearing from the speakers, a bit like being outside. That's kind of what they're trying to achieve. But like I say, if you're recording something, you might want a load of room echo. That might be something that's cool for the recording, but you definitely don't want that back being produced by a pair of speakers that you're using to mix the sound, so that when you play it back in a car, you're not hearing all of the reverberation that the guy who's mixing it's heard in his room, because that's obviously not part of the recording. So anyway, this is all tedious. Sorry, go on.
The quietest place on earth is but it's like that there's no noise over there. It's like 0 decibel or something.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
It's my Discord. It keeps cutting out. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect from Discord and then refresh and rejoin. Where did you...
and blood flow and everything. It's weird.
Where?
I think he was talking about an anechoic chamber, but I didn't hear what he said. Say again. Where did you say?
The world's quietest place is the one room. I don't remember where it is, but they say that you can't be there for long because it'll drive you insane.
Yeah, an anechoic chamber. So the noise floor in most anechoic chambers is below your hearing noise floor. So you can hear things like, I've been in several anechoic chambers, and they are, I don't know, when people say that they drive you nuts and things, it's complete bollocks. It's just a weird experience because it's a very dry sound, so you have no sense of the room that you're in whatsoever, because as soon as you speak, it doesn't bounce off anything, so you hear the sound coming out of your mouth, and then it just kind of disappears, which is very unusual. But no, there's people who work in anechoic chambers all day long. You know what I mean? So to say it sends you nuts, but it is a weird experience.
guess it might drive you nuts if you don't say anything. It's just sit there being quiet. No. Nice to test that, and the sense deprivation tank would also be an interesting thing.
Okay, are you saying echo chambers?
No. 3-in-1? Just kidding.
I give up.
Yeah,
I still
got to
didn't
work.
get it. I still didn't get the place you're talking about.
It's called an anechoic chamber.
Anechoic. Okay, now I got it. Gotcha.
Just as we were talking about that, I disappeared because I've got all the windows open and one of my bass traps flew off the wall. So suddenly collapsed into the room. I'm only partially done in this room treating it, so there's all sorts of stuff that's half finished, which is a bit irritating. But there we go. Funds have run out, which is always going to be the way when you're doing this sort of thing.
I'm hoping we have some evidence today of something.
Not just evidence, scientific evidence.
I'll take evidence at this point. Tenth man not here today?
Hey Nathan, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Paul.
Well, that's good. He just didn't do a G plus today. I wonder why. Did he say?
No. He's not breaking air right now for some reason. We got weird stuff going on.
I think so. Usually 10th man is here by now.
Well, that's what I was saying. There's no. He didn't put the link in for G plus, and usually 10th man and me come in through there instead of through Discord. So not sure what's going on.
Yeah, Nathan's he's on the board here, but he's not making any noise. There's something going on.
I know, I was just checking the damage. It's one of a piece of equipment's just fallen on another piece of equipment, which means there's now damage. So I was just assessing the damage, that was all.
So G plus is not coming in today?
There's nobody there yet. Have I forgotten to, I perhaps have forgotten to share the link with them, which I sometimes do.
Yeah, you did, Nathan. That's why I'm in here.
My bad.
10th man must have been going crazy.
Where's this link? Yeah, I've smashed a shelf. Fortunately, no equipment's been damaged, but a shelf that one of the pieces of equipment sat on is now smashed to pieces. Oh well.
There we go. I'm in the right spot now.
Should be back in 2 seconds just to have another quick glance at the damage. Won't be a second.
Was that poor carpentry?
Yeah, no equipment
sounds
damages.
like something
Just a shelf. But I'm kind of talking to myself going, fuck, broken something. I hate that.
Did you have an earthquake or a toddler?
Just wind. I've got all the windows open and I've got various different things stacked in position but not secured down. And it just didn't occur to me that the wind could actually be powerful enough in this corner to blow a piece over and smash it into another piece of equipment, but it has. Oh well, just that's how it goes sometimes.
Orioles.
No, wind. Just wind. There was no not actual effect. Something actually fell off. Hit something else.
That's one of them old tricks where everything matters. Everything.
And had tacos for dinner.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Paul Hall and The Plain Truth in G+, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Oh,
Morning.
Hello. Hello, hello. Less than enthusiastic hellos from Discord.
Discord is Discord.
Any signs of physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Discord. That explains the silence.
Nope. I don't think anyone can hear me.
No one can hear me.
Hello.
Hello, Arwen.
Oh.
You talking to me?
Is it storming in the background?
It might be me.
Right. Sounds really nice. Fresh.
I don't know what you're on about.
I'm cooking up here, serious.
Oh, yes, it's hot. It's very hot.
Yes, it's hot.
Oh, lots of feedback from somebody in Discord. Please turn down your speakers. Right, moving on. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No.
How about hurricanes?
What about them? That's not axial
Oh,
rotation.
they're very cool and refreshing.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
That's what I always say when I'm hot and steamy. Boy, what I wouldn't give for a nice hurricane right now.
Okay.
Well, this is a different Friday.
Do you mean if there's any scientific evidence of motion?
Scientific evidence of motion. Do you need to scientifically validate that things move? I don't think so.
Motion is motion.
Axial rotation. We're talking about Earth spinning. Earth spinning, not hurricanes. Not things moving generally. Earth with an axis rotating. Any evidence of that?
Nope.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Definitely over there.
Definitely not.
Say again, Rebel?
The mic is muffled.
Say again, Rebel?
No, I was saying definitely no evidence to the distance of the sun. We don't know what the sun is and how big it is.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
The reification fallacy that is gravity.
Nary a
As
bit.
in mass, attract to mass? No.
That's 105 years out of date, Rebel. But no, you're right. No, there isn't. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Oh, yeah, I got that one. Movie, The Core. It's all there, buddy. It's the truth. They've been down there. They made the movie. You've seen it?
Yeah.
Just no. On so many levels, no.
No, that's a true statement because
You haven't seen the movie Core?
Why is there an echo?
Hold on, Rebel. Say again, 10th man.
Say that again.
Say again, 10th man. We did hear you.
Okay, no, there's a terrible echo coming each time I talk. It's gone now. So yeah, that's true about the core because the studio next door is the NASA movie studio. So yeah, it's all there.
Yeah, we need to harvest those giant crystal caves, man.
Do we?
Yeah. I want an amethyst as large as a house.
Do you?
Yeah. I'll build my house in it. How about that?
Okay, well, at least it's got a practical purpose. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Is it even possible?
Oh, I had a whole discussion about that in my early bird show in the last 20 minutes about dark matter, and there was still a baller in there that actually thought that there was some kind of observational evidence for it to exist. Ugh. It's terrible.
Have you guys seen Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about dark matter? Or the thing they know nothing about and calling it a thread or something? Something ridiculous like that. Did you see it?
Well, in my chat, a baller was suggesting to me that they still had to discover the phenomena. That just cracked me up.
A phenomena is something that's occurred in nature that you go, I wonder what caused that. So it's not a case of, I wonder if we'll have something to wonder about what is going to cause it. No, it's not like that. It's just see something in nature that you want to figure out what caused that thing in nature.
Right. Until it is perceived, it can't be a phenomena. because the perception.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, not seeing it kind of defies what a phenomenon would be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
isn't
wouldn't
that the longest-standing problem in astrophysics?
Oh no, they've got plenty of phenomenon to observe in astrophysics. In fact, that's all they've got.
No, somebody mentioned dark matter, and
Dark matter, what's that?
Can I ask
Right,
a question?
that's the-
Is there dark matter in nature?
well, that's what they're trying to invent on the spot when they realize they don't have enough so-called gravity, right?
Hold
Yeah,
on,
the gravity
what-
shortage is terrible, man.
Hold on, what's
We don't even
Yeah.
know what it is yet, so yeah, there's a shortage.
oh, is that the answer to my question I was going to ask? I was going to say, what's dark matter again?
I don't. They don't qualify. I don't know. Something.
do we not?
Something they call Fred. They don't know what it is. What's that? That's why they call it dark.
It's pseudoscience.
It's literally saying we don't know what it is, but to make it sound sciencey, they call it dark matter.
I see. We work on the really is level here, though.
Right. No, I was pointing out the what they're saying.
I'm not shooting the messenger, Rebel. Don't take it personally. It's all good.
I have a question.
I'm a little sensitive this morning.
That's okay. I know you're a very delicate flower, aren't you, Rebel?
Nice one, Rebel.
Right. Now we're done with the snowflake. What was it you wanted to add, Neil?
What's the plural? Phenomena or phenomenon?
Phenomenon is singular. Phenomena is plural. So singular, if you're doing an experiment, you'll be dealing with a phenomenon.
Phenomena.
I get it wrong all the time, though.
Phenomena.
When I'm speaking fast, Paula pulls me up on it all the time. Not my Paula, Bible literalist Paula. Will be like, keep mixing them up, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
So
I do it too.
phenomena is
Still.
plural.
Yeah, a phenomenon is singular.
I got you.
Is there a phenomena with an S?
Phenomena.
No. So
No S there.
multiple phenomena or a phenomenon.
So you can't say multiple phenomenas.
That's a lot.
Phenomena.
Oh god, this is going to get tedious fast.
It already is.
Anyway,
God,
moving on.
We got a sensitive panel here. Be nice.
No, so back to the movie core.
Oh god.
What
Oh
I
god.
found
Nice.
Come on, Rebel.
in the
Get it out
movie,
there.
they were talking about what science is. The cool scientists, and they're talking about what science is, and they basically said outright in the movie, like as a matter of fact, science, all the science is just the best guess. That's all it is. And I couldn't believe my ears. I'm like, what?
I remember that.
Yeah, but that's kind of what let's just call it like it is. That's what Becky said.
I
Similar.
was just going to say that.
So that just
Right.
there's a stage in the method that does involve a certain degree of guesswork. So the guess is more accurately described as a supposition. So it's your supposition, which is something that's yet to be validated, that X causes Y. But in the method, you've also got the complete contrasting hypothesis, which is your null, which is if X not Y, which is the sort of default position, if you will. Further to that, you're never going to test that default position. The default position being that you're not going to cause the effect with your assumption. So 9 times out of 10, for the sake of this discussion, you're going to say, I think X causes Y. You're going to vary X and not cause Y, validating your null, which is what lends the empiricism to the method. But it only has that empirical nature upon validation of a hypothesis, or the actualization of a hypothesis, which is to say you test your hypothesis. Now that testing procedure is also known as experimentation. In other words, upon experimentation, you will either validate your supposition, your best guess, as being correct, or You vary your supposition, your presumed cause, and it doesn't cause the effect. And you validate your null as it not being the cause. But at the end of the process, your supposition is either validated or invalidated. So no, science is definitely not about your best guess. That's what pseudo-scientists say. So juxtapose what I've just detailed with somebody who says, I've seen a light in the sky. My best guess is that's caused by blah, 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 blah. Make it up as I go along, and that's called science. Well, that typifies the pseudo-science culture that we actually live in. Science is very narrow. It's empirical. It establishes a cause of effect. If you guess correctly and validate your guess, making it an empirical, validated cause of an effect. Or you don't, in which case you don't. You validate your null. It didn't cause the effect. But the only guesswork is the presumption of cause prior to validation with hypothesis tests. That would be experimentation. So total nonsense by the pseudoscientists that are astrophysicists, cosmologists, and astronomers.
So the question that I would pose is, again, when did that switch happen in the scientific community? When did the first person say, and consensus agree, science doesn't prove anything?
That's not a scientific statement. That's the statement of a pseudoscientist. So pseudoscience has been long defined. And it's obviously defined because there's been plenty of people who have realised the power of the suggestion of empiricism. So therefore, pseudoscience becomes quickly defined as that which is not science, but is claimed to be exactly that. So the pseudoscience culture is merely somebody appreciating that at a base level, we were all taught in 5th grade the empirical nature of the scientific method and what it produces. Well, if you can take that word and just say, my Pirelli tyres tested better when I compared them to 2 other brands, therefore I've scientifically validated that the Pirellis are better, that's a really good way of selling something, because what you hear instinctively, because we've all been taught it, is that something's been empirically proven, when nothing could be further from the truth. There's no phenomena to study with tyres, they're man-made things. Anyway.
Right, I know, but I'm sorry, just real quick again. My point is, though, is that when did the last scientist die, right? The last guy who says science proves things, when did he die? And then the pseudoscience step up and then rewrite history and say science is not about proving things. That's what my question is.
Never. Hold on. Never. Never. That hasn't happened.
Please. They didn't. They're
Right.
still there. There's still some scientists out there. It's just that these people and their department that has basically created these branches of pseudoscience, starting in the schools, right, lobbying it somehow. I don't know how they did it through government. And yeah, they just create their own version. They're like trying to start over, like, oh, we're going to modernize it now, and then everybody can work on that. So the old stuff is still there. There are probably some really hardcore old scientists out there. They're just not getting the attention.
You're kind of asking.
Probably don't even want to try it out.
By analogy, Travis, you're saying when was the first? Hold on one second. You're saying you're by comparison saying when was the first odometer reversed in a car, and when did it stop being accurate odometer readings in cars? Well, by comparison, when did it stop being science? Well, never. Science isn't the men who perform the method. It's just the method. And the method's still being utilised to this day. It's still the same empirical method. And it still advances society and humanity on a fairly regular basis. So no, science never stopped. But from day one, the moment somebody recognises that if you can utilise a tool that has the suggestion of empiricism, you can imply that you have said empiricism when you use the words of science, like experiment, like theory. Now, often they've also got colloquial counterparts. Theory has got the scientific meaning, that which has been established by scientific validity, being put together with other things that have been established with scientific validity to form an overall picture called a scientific theory, backed by experimental validity. Very specific. That's a scientific theory. Well, then you get the theory of gravity. That's not a scientific theory. They've just taken this word, imposed it on a load of pseudoscience to make the reader think that this is empirically proven, when it, again, couldn't be any further from the truth. So it's a hijacking of terminology by people who require empiricism but have none. It doesn't change the method. And the men who do this are either people who are just performing the method, accurately described as scientists, or people who aren't, but would love to have the empiricism that method offers, so they call themselves scientists, and then offer you a just so story. But when did that happen? The moment people recognise the power of an empirical method.
This is your empty assertions, by the way.
Say that again.
Nathan is making empty assertions that things are not proven because there's claimed to be evidence. Evidence claimed, and you need to show the problems, the inherent logical contradictions in that claimed evidence, dispute that evidence. Assertions which are presented with other evidence, which is what Nathan is doing here, can be dismissed without evidence.
But like the one you've just made. You've given no example, no qualification, you've just made a baseless assertion. That's what you've just done. You're projecting, mate. That's what you've just done.
I've done the same thing you did.
So you've made a baseless assertion without qualification. I haven't done that. I've described very succinctly and concisely the scientific method and the people who hijack it and call just so stories based on an observation perhaps of a phenomenon that they haven't validated scientifically with cause. I've described that. That's not some sort of word salad. That's very concise and accurate. Unlike your statement.
Nathan made no claims here.
Not rationally back up any of your assertions.
Sorry, you're just going to spew the same baseless assertion that I haven't said anything of substance again, because that's basically the same exact baseless assertion you're projecting onto me. It's fairly pathetic, mate. I don't need to hear a second rendition of you telling me what Nathan just said was completely baseless. It had nothing. It didn't back with it. You don't need to hear that twice. That's a baseless assertion.
Bro.
Neil, you're roboting crazy, man.
It's your misunderstanding. Your inability to understand it is not a valid reason against it.
Oh, you don't understand. Is that all you got?
Yeah, basically.
Really?
Nathan didn't make any assertions, dumbass.
I got much more, but you wouldn't understand.
Give him a second. Everyone stop interrupting this pickle dude. Just do you want to qualify your statements?
What statement? That you have made assertions that something does not have evidence without showing why the claimed evidence is not actual evidence.
What's the something? Be specific.
Specific. You have claimed that gravity does not have any evidence.
Those words crossed my lips. I said no scientific evidence. Oh, God. Let me know when you're done.
That's what you've said.
Let me know when you're done.
That's what you've said, right?
No.
It's undeniable that...
sorry, no. Did you not hear me say no? Maybe continue talking indefinitely. No, that is not what I said. There is no scientific evidence for gravity. We have been asking this question for years. It gets repeated at the beginning of every single live show. Any scientific evidence of gravity? On this show, we had Travis in a high-pitched comedic voice. Scientific evidence of what? So while you talk through me, asshole, while you talk through me, I'll point out that you are wrong. You're going to get removed if you keep talking through me. If you keep talking through me, you're going to get removed, Pickle. Right? I'm explaining that you're wrong. No. We specifically detail the type of evidence we are requiring. That would be scientific evidence. So no.
You've just said this. There's no scientific evidence for gravity.
That's correct.
Okay? That's what you just said.
Yes, that's correct.
It's undeniable. Okay, yeah. It's undeniable that the public narration is that they're undeniable. They claim to have...
Breaking up, Pickle. What's your scientific evidence for gravity?
Claim to have...
Pickle saying somebody's claiming to have scientific evidence of gravity.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to establish with him. He's breaking up and he won't shut up either. He's just got verbal diarrhea with his breaking up, crap mic, crap connection. Can't shut up. Pickle, shut up! Shut up!
Get back in your jar and put a lid on it, Pickle.
Yeah, you've got constant verbal diarrhea. What's your scientific evidence of gravity? If my statement's false, you can only disprove it one way, and that would be by providing some scientific evidence for this gravity thing. Go ahead. Feel free to prove me wrong by providing scientific evidence of this nonsense.
Refuse to engage what I'm actually saying.
Dude, you've been asked for scientific evidence. You claiming Nathan is wrong. Prove it. What is scientific evidence of gravity? Don't just spew the verbal diarrhea. Stay on point, buddy.
He won't give it because he knows it'll get picked apart.
We agree. In public narration, there's claimed to be science. We agree or disagree? We agree that in public narration there's claimed to be scientific evidence for gravity.
Okay, well, give it us. What's the scientific evidence? Give it us. If there's claimed to be by public consensus, you're talking through me again, Pickle, aren't you? Yeah?
I know that you
Stop talking! I'm responding. Right, last chance. If when I respond to you in the next part of this discourse, you talk through my reply, I'm going to kick you out. Now, according to you, public consensus says the scientific evidence. Well, that's wonderful. Let's hear it. Let's see it. Give it us.
I'm asking if we agree on that or not. If that is the public narration.
It's not an agree-disagree situation. Either there is or there isn't scientific evidence. I say there is not. To prove the contrapositive, you need to provide scientific evidence. So either provide it, and there he goes. Goodbye, you can't take part in a reasonable discussion. Because I'm responding to him, he's talking through me. Now, the fact is, I'll summarise, there is no scientific evidence of gravity. All this man had to back that nonsense, which doesn't exist, was to say, well, consensus suggests that we do have evidence for it. Well, that's wonderful. Let's see the scientific evidence for it. No, what I'll get is constantly talked through, because there isn't any.
Get back in your jar and put a lid on it.
Did he say downward acceleration?
I don't care what he said. He talked through me when he said it, if he said it at all, on account of the fact that I was responding to him, and he doesn't like me highlighting for the third or fourth time that in order to disprove me saying there's no scientific evidence for this thing called gravity, you just need to provide some to disprove that statement. Now, given that it's his claim, it's his gravity, and it's him the burden of proof is on to prove, then he needs to provide it if he's going to disclaim that I'm wrong. I'm not. There isn't any scientific evidence for gravity. Fact. It's pseudo-Ramonian force space. It's in the title.
By the way, that was at Masto. That's not Pickle Prick, whatever his name is.
Yeah,
So
he's
it's not
stopping the
Pickle?
count.
Was that not Pickle?
He was getting all sour, but there was no sweetness to it.
No, I was going to say, with a name like Pickle, it's obvious he was going to make a big dill out of nothing.
Big deal.
So he's referring basically to popular opinion, right?
It's true. The worse the puns are, the more funny they are.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. So it's got to be pretty bad to be pretty funny.
Very confusing, guys.
Yeah.
You made a big deal of it? Big deal? Big dill? No? Okay.
No, it's like one of the herbs that is in the juice.
Right. Oh, God. If you have to dissect it when it's a bad pun, it's definitely no longer funny. Thank you for sucking all the fun out of this joke, Arwin.
You're welcome.
Dill is a brand name for pickle.
So Nathan, if let's say a firm, a corporation, has a science department, and maybe something akin to a lab, upon the door it says science department, and every dude that walks through there, in their profile it says they work in the science department, so naturally they call themselves scientists. So one of those dudes will take your example of Pirelli tires, takes the car for a spin and tests different tires and determines that the Pirelli tire is better. Now he would call it a scientific proof because he's a scientist working in the science department. That's the popular belief, popular view of what science is, right?
Right, well, no, yes and no. Yes, that's the popular belief. No, it's not science. That's measuring things. You can measure how long the rubber lasts. how well it sticks to the ground, how much water it displaces with the tread depths. You can make comparisons and compare the numbers of these measurements. Well, what are measurements? Mathematics. You can say it's measurably better. The Michelins are measurably better than the Pirellis. But that's not what they say. They say this is science. We've tested it. Tested it meaning measure it.
Right, so they're equivocating testing with science.
Yeah, people do it all the time. So that Thunderfoot guy that I keep mentioning, he does it all the time. Somebody will make a claim about something. I'll use the same example I've used in the last couple of examples. About a tumble dryer that's using vacuum power to make the clothes dry quicker. Well, he can then measure how much a vacuum can take away the moisture from a piece of clothes with a vacuum chamber, and he can measure the amount. Well, is that science? Oh no, of course it's not. It's maths. With a practical example of what you are measuring. It's still not science. It's not establishing the cause of a natural phenomena. That's science. Science is very narrow. But these people will call themselves scientists. Thunderfoot, to lend credence to that which he has measured, calls himself a scientist. Now, at some stage, has he applied the scientific method to something? Yeah, like Anthony Riley has. Now, could Anthony Riley now call himself a scientist? Yes, he could.
Yeah, I mean, that's a steep hill to climb, to trying to work against that popular notion of what science is, because everybody I speak to inevitably equates science with testing or observing or measuring. It's like that's where every of my arguments get stuck, is trying to uncover that hole.
Yeah. It's for those of them who have discovered that this word, science, and various other sciencey words that are associated, offer quite a high degree of power in terms of convincibility if you're selling a product.
Well, do we find Pirelli tires naturally occurring in nature?
No.
Well, then you can't use the scientific method.
Yeah, what's the cause of Pirelli tyres? A man making them. Yeah. Synthetic falls outside of the remit of science because you find the cause pretty quickly when you're dealing with anything synthetic. A man made it.
Yeah, it took me a while to wrap my head around what science actually is. You know, it took a few shows, and I've been with you a long time. And then that me sticking with you for like hours at a time, right? Trying to talk to anyone else and conveying that within the matter of seconds, it's impossible. Like you can say that, but it's just not going to register. It's just not registering, period.
I talked to two guys yesterday when they were working on the power poles here, and it lasted over an hour, and the word science came up. And I said, do you know the scientific method? And they said, well, I remember learning it, but can you tell us again? So I went through just what Nathan said, and they got it right away. So they weren't trolls, though. They were normies who were back and forth with me, and they were interested in my viewpoint, and I was interested in their viewpoints. So it was a very good discussion. And they left saying, gosh, you gave us a lot to think about. This is really good. Thank you. Thank you. Now, we don't get that too often on the show from anybody.
I wonder why.
No, lucky you.
What do you mean, I wonder why? You're the epitome of why, because you come here angry.
Hold on, let him answer. Hold on, 10th man. You asked him a direct question. You've got to let him answer.
I don't know what you want me to say. I wonder why that is.
That's why I said it for you, because you're a coward. Going by your experience,
I think you think
you've given us over the last 2 months.
Man? I do actually wonder why that is.
Well, wonderful. Let's enter a discussion and let's see how it turns out. Are you ready?
Okay.
So what is the scientific method? Can you tell us?
Is this obfuscation, is it?
You just proved my point
hold
with
on.
one question.
I have to intervene immediately. We're
Oh,
talking
no,
about the scientific
Nathan's got
method.
the
He
hump.
asks a question specifically related to the subject matter, which is the scientific method, and your immediate response is this an obfuscation? What a question that could not be more on point. No, definitely not an obfuscation, no.
I asked him, I wonder why you don't get more converts or whatever he said.
Well, 2 out of 2 is not a bad ratio. I got 2 converts talking to 2 people. What's your ratio?
Well, what's that got to do with the scientific method?
Why'd you ask the question about more converts then?
I said, I wonder why. Isn't that like, do I have to spell it out for you? What my question?
I asked you about the scientific method. You said I was obfuscating. Then you said converts. And I said I got 2 out of 2. And then you said, what does that got to do with the scientific method? Because you changed the current topic to converts, and you're blaming me for it.
I asked you a question. I wonder why you don't get more converts, or to that effect. And then you started going on about the scientific method. What's that got to do with it?
No.
That is not true, buddy. In fact,
When you
come
said,
on, get
hang
your head
on,
straight.
I got this. When you said converts, I immediately told you I talked to 2 and I got 2 out of 2. I didn't go on to scientific method. I saw you changing the parameters right there. Why didn't you stay on the scientific method?
This is crazy, this, you know. Or it was a passing comment, and you jumped on it. Nathan got the hump, you got the hump, and then you started asking me about the scientific method. This is crazy.
That's what we're talking about.
You are crazy.
That's just what we're talking about at the moment. Are you not paying attention to the last 20 minutes of conversation? Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, why did you bring up the red herring then?
I think 10th Man did that. I just questioned it in a passing comment.
This guy.
What did you question?
You need to go back to that
Okay,
building.
let's just deal with that then. Thank you. That's really interesting that you wonder about that. Thank you.
Thanks,
You know, he
Nathan.
just,
Yeah, so I have a question. Hold on, I
took
have a
the
question
show
about
to a
the
10-minute
turnover
direction.
rate. Hold on, real quick. So, if you think that we ought to have converts, what's the conversion rate? How fast does it take for a convert to happen? Is it immediate?
That's a
So
good question.
when I walk up to a person and I say, "Hey, bro, did you know the Earth is flat?" Is he going to believe me right then?
Why are
Or
we
if
saying
I
he's
have a
red
10,
herring?
hold on. If I have a 10-minute conversation with him, at the end of that 10 minutes, do you think he's going to be a convert? Is it going to take 20 minutes? How long? You know, okay, so am I supposed to take this guy's number down and say, "Hey, when you believe that the Earth is flat, call me back because I'm taking a poll." Like, so if you
Is this
want
directed
to
at me?
say, yeah, it's directed at you because you said, "Why don't you have many converts?" What is your scale for how fast a convert should become a convert? Right? Nobody's taken records of this stuff.
I don't have a
I've talked-
scale, whoever you are.
Hold on. Excuse me?
I said, I don't have a scale, whoever you are.
Why are you asking the question? You're asking a question because you have an expectation that we should have converts.
Right,
Where
right,
is
genius.
your- right.
It's called a passing comment that was jumped on by a 10th man, and then Nathan got the hump, and then we started talking about the scientific method. Now you're waffling on about time limits. What the hell is this turning into?
Do you understand
No.
that 10th man was talking to the guys that you call converts about the scientific method? Like, are you
Hey,
keeping up
Chocolate.
with this at
Hey,
all?
Chocolate.
No, he isn't Chocolate. He's not keeping up with
Are
the
you keeping
conversation.
up?
It's just explained. Then we started talking about the scientific method like it came out of the blue. No, it didn't. We were talking about it for 20 straight minutes.
No, he
you
asked
piped
me
up.
what
Now
the
you're
scientific
interrupting me, of
method is.
course.
My
Of
comment
course, now
wasn't
he's
even about
interrupting
that.
me. Now it's his time to talk because I'm mid-sentence, right? Yeah, Nathan got the hump because we're dealing with assholes. That would be you talking through me while I'm explaining and summarising that no. We spent 20 minutes talking about the scientific method. You piped up with your passing comment that was really relevant for everyone to hear and then got all shock and horror when we started talking about the scientific method for the first time in your mind. No, mate, you just can't keep up with the conversation. Maybe sit down and shut up.
Right, can I just have one last
Maybe
response to
sit
that?
down and shut up. Subtle enough for you?
Asshole, Nathan, not asshole. You're
Sit
English.
down and shut up. Your passing comment added nothing. You can't keep up with the conversation. You are essentially useless. Now, I was subtle initially. Subtle.
Nathan,
sit down, shut up, idiot.
Asshole,
now I'm not being subtle. Now, if you keep talking through me, I'll have to shut you up. Because I'm telling you, you're stupid. You offer nothing. You can't even keep up with the conversation. You thought it was a shock when we started talking about the scientific method. You are useless. Therefore, you should and will sit down and shut up.
He's here to derail the show.
He can't sit down and shut up. He can't take a subtle hint that he's useless. He must keep talking indefinitely. We're never going to get to move back onto the relevant subject, which would be the scientific method and the fact that Muppets think it's useful for proving tyres are better than one another. And that same exact principle has been used to punt the pseudoscience of a heliocentric world with lights in the sky being given just so stories by people like Becky who haven't got any science. That was the conversation for 20 minutes till this moron decided to interject with his complete idiocy. And then never shut up. This is what we deal with here at Flat Earth Debate. Complete idiots. We're talking about the scientific method. He wants to talk about his feelings about the conversion rate for stats he hasn't got on how many people come to Flat Earth. That's what he wants us to consider his musings on. And when it's highlighted that he's got nothing to have musings about by Travis, totally ignored. Oh, it's just a passing comment. Well, sit down and shut up then. And they wonder why I get annoyed with them. Because they're idiots, that's why.
It was a backhanded smack. In other words, we ain't going nowhere. That's the way I took it.
Yeah, it's like stabbing from the dark.
It's projection. Why have I not been converted yet is what he's really saying. 90% of what these people do here is project their garbage onto us.
Yeah, but he chooses to be here every day.
So it's actually
maybe
very
he's on his
simple.
path
If we
of his
take
own
that-
conversion, wondering why it hasn't kicked in yet. Because he seems to be triggered by this show, but yet here he is every day.
Yeah.
So
he
what's
wants
your
to
problem?
know when it will be safe because everybody else thinks it. That's what he's essentially detailing. When everyone else understands that the Earth is flat, it'll be safe for me to understand it. So why haven't I been converted yet? It's just projection. All they do is project onto us. It's like, no, mate, we don't... Oh, I can't speak for everyone. I don't care if you're converted or not. And if 200 million people get converted, I couldn't care less. I understand the nature of reality. I understand the deception that it's taken to get me to the point that I thought I was on a ball. I understand all that. Further to that, if you don't understand it, or you're concerned that not everyone else thinks it, well, then you haven't got any self-confidence. You're worried that other people might think less of you, because they will. As soon as you appreciate the obvious and observable flat nature of our reality, people will ridicule you for it. No wonder he's hesitant. No wonder he wants a greater conversion rate. He's here in the bargaining stage. Does he want to move on to the depression and loss? No. No, he wants to deny. Well, hardly anybody else is picking up on this.
You had the spot on, Nathan. It does sound like bargaining stage.
Meanwhile, people are picking up on this every day. It's pretty funny.
What's this stat about Brazil? I keep seeing pop up in all the flat Earth feeds that I've been subscribed to without being asked. the people just subscribe me to this stuff. I'm like, some TV poll.
There was,
Yeah, they took a poll.
They took a poll during the live show in the Brazil. I don't know what city it was in. Whether the Earth was flat or round, and flat Earth was like 60-some%, and round Earth was
62 to 38.
38, yeah.
Okay, so they did a poll. They did a poll: is Earth flat or a sphere? And it came back 62% of people, the consensus opinion, basically, think it's flat in Brazil, according to this TV poll. Wow.
Correct.
Actually, this is so beautiful. It's a dovetailing to the comment. I wonder why. That's beautiful.
Maybe he needs to keep up to date flat Earth debate.
I do remember.
Well, let me tell you
Go on.
how it ended. So I don't know if these two gentlemen, which I had a wonderful time with, will be flat earthers at the end of the day, but they were so interested that I told them that I was on the show 5 days a week as a panel member, and they wanted the link. So I sent them the link to your show, Nathan. So step one, step two probably got done, and the other steps will happen on their own as they ask good questions. So I think that was a pretty good time.
I don't know if anyone's been around long enough to remember some of the really old Flat Earth videos for us in this wave of Flat Earth, so sort of 2014-ish. Lots of the Earth is Flat graffiti was from South America. Now, I didn't know it was something that had been prevalent there enough for people to be going and graffitiing it on walls, but I certainly knew that the origin of this material was from South America. But I just certainly didn't know that if you did a TV poll, I mean, not that that means a great deal. Somebody recently did a similar thing where they exposed some gamer that had asked the same question with a very young audience, and it came back with a very flat earth skewed stat in reply. Well, okay, you can read something into that, but a national TV doing a poll, how do you know any of the legitimacy of the poll itself? I should be praising it. I'm just questioning it. I'm just being skeptical, that's all. Rather than going, well, hey, look, loads of people in Brazil do think that. Well, how do you know that? Has anybody checked any of these facts whatsoever?
Usually, I think when somebody questions the conversion rate of flat Earths, they are mainstream people themselves, right? So it cannot be more mainstream than a TV show. We can just simply refer to that, and that would be good enough for them.
I see what you're saying is by that person's standards, when TV says most people think Earth's flat, that's a good enough standard for that guy. Right, I get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I want to flip the question back. When you have a captive audience, which means school systems, TV, movies, what's the heliocentric conversion rate? Wouldn't that be pretty high when you have a captive audience, no one thinking for themselves?
100%.
So what's the point of the conversion?
100%, right? They put you through second grade. You learn about the heat. It's a shame Bev's just sent a message. It's a shame he's not on the panel. But yeah, this is stuff that they indoctrinate into you when you're so young. You're never going to question it again, and then they just reinforce it with subliminal programming for the rest of your natural born life.
And I would have an issue with the word conversion, because it's not like you have an alternative view even at that age. It's just
precisely. What alternative do you have? You get your mobile with the planets. You get told about how the solar system works. Normally, your next of kin will be pointing out how it works with their finger up into the sky, telling you about the sky vacuum. So you're not offered any alternative. That is just how it is. That's why the fundies come here and are so accustomed to instinctively begging the question, well, we know it's a sphere because if the Earth's a sphere, blah, 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 therefore Earth's a sphere. That's what we get, because you don't have an alternative.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people struggling to even visualize it, right? And that's the biggest part, I think, of a struggle, is they can't even fathom it. They can't visualize it, so they just reject it up front. They can't even process it.
Yeah, they can't see the world beyond being a sphere. It's so ingrained.
Right.
But for me personally, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people on the panel who can relate to this, there was a period when you're like, cognitively, you're rewiring yourself. In other words, a lot of the axioms and paradigms that have been put upon you as just real, whether you like it or not, are still wired into your brain. And there is a certain period, certainly for me, where I'm like, hold on, that doesn't actually jive anymore. We're still doing it. I mean, the most recent example is atmosphere. Well, it's a contradiction in terms, an oxymoron. Atmo, air, sphere, shape. Air doesn't have a shape. It's an oxymoron. But that sort of verbiage, we just spew without even thinking about it. But that's what I mean by subliminally programming people to have this idea that was taught to you when you were of an age to just accept it as fact. So therefore, when you see the globes on billboards or the globe graphics on a lot of intros or in the background of a news station's broadcast, whatever it may be, that is subliminal programming. It's keeping the idea very much in the back of your mind without overtly putting it on the screen. Or in the case of the BBC, at the ident, back when I used to watch TV, they had a globe right at the beginning of every single ident. You're like, well, okay, it's pretty in your face, but it's still definitely subliminal programming. Well, that's how they keep it there. So therefore, when it comes to a debate, it's like, well, we already know the Earth's a sphere. What? Prove it's flat. So they get trained from day one to enter a debate with the immediate instinct to reverse the burden of proof and beg the question. It's genius, if you ask me. Got trained little worker ant army of people to train from birth to beg the question and reverse the burden of proof when someone asserts the contrary to what they understand to just be the way it is. The Earth just is a sphere. I just know it. Balls to bones, it just is a sphere. No, it isn't. You've never seen it. You can't go to space. Space is fake. There's no radius value. There's no geometric horizon, otherwise known as Earth curve. There's no Earth curve at the moment. That's what we're exposing. It's got to that level. There is no Earth curve. Doesn't exist. Your own side admit it. Only exists in maths. Well, when you're at that stage, you know, there's no cognitive wiring to be done for me. But you imagine Joe Normie coming here listening to that. It'd fry you. Completely fry your circuitry. That's why we see so many people in pain. And they express it through anger. Or projection, more likely.
Check.
Hello.
Yeah. Why does it matter how many numbers we have? This isn't a cult. This is reality.
I don't care. Exactly, Babs. I don't care. If you leave here not converted to flat Earth, I couldn't care less. Fact. Earth is obviously and observably flat. I have recognised and appreciated that there's no evidence for a sphere. If you don't recognise that, go in peace. It doesn't affect me in the slightest. So, yeah, I don't care. We're not a cult. I haven't got little minions that are coming to me for little answers about the world because I don't offer any. I debunk the nonsense that we were trained from birth with. I don't offer any alternative. I've literally got nothing to offer. What can I tell you? I don't know what the sky is. I don't know what the lights in that sky are. That's it. I can tell you it's flat. That's about it.
How dare you say you don't know what anything is?
I don't. What do you know? Why is the sky blue, Neil?
I have no idea.
Nathan, that is so savage. You're ripping off the worldview from people and then offering no alternatives. That's savage, man.
Really? So I got a great example recently. Great example that I'll use from this day till whenever. So again, back to Thunderfoot. Hooray! So Thunderfoot is debunking a vacuum-powered tumble dryer. Does Thunderfoot have to demonstrate how it would be possible to efficiently dry clothes with a vacuum in order to debunk that vacuum product? Does he have to show it? Is it an outrage that Thunderfoot isn't producing a vacuum-powered dryer that's actually economical and can be sold to the public in lieu of the one he's debunking? Does he have to do that?
No.
So I can just take a giant steaming dump on heliocentrism and offer nothing at all.
Right. And it is savage. I'm not saying it's wrong. To most people's psyche, it's savage. They can't take it. They're gonna pepper us with questions, which they usually do. You know, what's there? Then what is the sun? And what are the meteors? And blah blah blah. Right? And you can honestly say, I don't know. Like, well, if you don't know, then how can you say that and that and that? Right? They can't fathom the idea that taking away what they thought a thing was in their understanding, offering no alternative instead is even a possibility for them to comprehend. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see that as savage,
the globe
though.
is a cult. That's why the Globers got excited when Seek Truth, Speak Truth, and Jose Gonzalez were welcomed back into the Brotherhood.
But you know what we're saying? Think about what we're telling the world.
Hold on, Neil. What do you mean? When a few flat earthers were welcomed back into the Globe Earth cult, there was high praise. Explain what that's significant.
Because it's a cult. They're trying to recruit as many members as possible. We don't get excited when we get new members, but they do.
Good morning, Quantum Eraser.
With anything, really?
Yeah, someone read out a post.
They only get excited for the members they thought they lost that seem to come back. They don't care about their new members because their new members is every baby that's born that's get taught this nonsense from birth.
Right.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
What's up,
Somebody
Tom?
recently read out a comment that was left on one of the videos that was about to start premiering, and it had words to the effect of, if you come back to the Globe Earth cult, fortune and fame and subscribers will all await you. And you're like, my God, I can't make this stuff up. They couldn't behave any more cult-like.
For real? Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Oh my God. It's so bad.
Hey,
they need incentives.
Can I elbow my way in for a shameless plug?
It's going out live, so whatever it's for, you'll definitely have a proper plug for it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ball Busters tomorrow on Quantum Eraser Channel, 1 p.m. U.S. Central, 7 p.m. UK. We're gonna bash soundly into smithereens. Okay, one last time. We'll put this to bed.
Okay, I'll just reiterate that. So it's Be Here or Be Sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel, 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. Central Standard for Ball Busters. Be Here or Be Sphere.
1 p.m. US Central.
My bad. 1 p.m. US Central, 7 p.m. UK. Quantum Eraser channel. Ball Busters, Be Here or Be Sphere.
Would it soundly prove again that Earth is the size of a basketball?
No, that you could slobber incessantly and get away with it.
Soundly wants to live on a swamp planet.
Yeah, rub it in, QE. Rub it in.
What will we be covering? I say we. By we, I mean you. On Ball Busters with regards to Soundly. Is it Planet Orleans Parish?
No, we're far. We covered that in 2016. That's nonsense, man. We're going into new ground. We're going to bust into new hedgerows.
Excellent. Alrighty then. So as we didn't round out the discussion,
I got some news. Tomorrow, Ball Busters. We're gonna smash Sally into the smithereens.
Right on. So let's just
Is there an echo? Is there an echo chamber?
let's just round out the point that we never got to because of an annoying guest. Also, shout out to Cleary as it brings me back on topic. So pickle sounded rather quickly. Is that quickly? Quickly. Quickly.
Quirkly, I think it says there.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Cleary. Really appreciate your support. So, yeah, science is a method that's been hijacked by people who want to lend empiricism to their just so stories that may or may not have been preceded by a phenomenon that is observed in nature. Often not. Nevertheless, all science actually is the establishment of cause of an effect based on a hypothesis. That's what science is. The actualization of a hypothesis being an experiment, the validation of your assumed cause being the result you are hoping for, the validation of your null being what you often achieve if you don't guess correctly what caused the effect you observed in nature. That's what science actually is. Shout out to Retro Bill for the super chat. No words, just $15 US. Thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill. Just gives me money. Thank you very much.
Oh, another phenomenon. Just a sidetrack because I know you're getting ready to close out. Another phenomenon. They opened up the Arena Thunderdome over at 24/7 Discord, right? And every ballers was telling them, "Oh, it's about time. We can't wait to get a hold of QE because it come out of echo chambers, right?" Of course, I was out there the first 2.5 years, and then I have Ball Busters that anyone can join. But I go over there for the past week and a half every evening. Guess what?
They all ran away.
I think the guess what was rhetorical, but I think the guess what was kind of rhetorical, but what?
It was rhetorical. Crickets.
Did they crawl? Did they crawl away under rocks?
Well, a couple people come in, yeah, but not the regulars. Just a couple. But I think they send some, some troopers in. It didn't go well for them.
Can I ask a question?
You can. I'm just going to read out a couple of super chats before you do, and then your question will round out the show, Neil. So, I took off work and fishing to hear Soundly get demolished. Cooking a special meal. Shout out to Rakia Life for the super chat. Also, another shout out. I think it was to Retro Bill. It was indeed. The leader of the Dodge cult is Jesus Chrysler. Very good. Thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill. Go ahead, Neil.
What time do you join that 24/7 arena, QE?
Mainly after dinner here. So sometimes about 6. I'll stay in there from 6 till 11.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live, then this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Again, stay tuned if you're watching on one of the premiering streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Question.
Not care.
How do you
believe or
observe?
you don't believe?
Hold on. How do you observe dark matter? Please explain.
You don't. I did have my show on this on Friday on the Flat Earth Early Bird show.
We covered it on this show. What are you talking about? We covered it at the beginning of this show.
What? You did?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I was first on my Early Bird show.
Oh, right. Owen was first, everyone. Just don't forget it. Owen generally knows everything before anyone ever. That's kind of mean.
Not always.
That's often true. It's not unreasonable to say that, actually, but I'll say it like it's an insult.
Owen's on point.
You're the best.
So back to Paul's statement. Say it again, Paul.
So, well, the simple thing is if it's an experiment or you're trying to prove something, you got to observe something in nature. So how do you observe dark matter?
You don't. It's not even literally dark because it's technically transparent. Light doesn't rub off on it. There's no way to detect it's there. It's only conceptually there in order to offset the completely broken math based on the assumption that gravity must be there even though they can't even technically define it in physical terms.
Hold on, one thing. Hold on. Where's there? Where's there again, Owen?
Everywhere.
No, that's not where it exists. This exists in mathematics. It doesn't exist. Oh, no way. Unitox Femu has super chatted after the show ended. What's that?
Yeah, you tricked me. Very funny. I meant within the concept.
Their wiki, primary evidence for dark matter comes from calculations showing that many galaxies would fly apart.
Told you. Anyway, I'm just going to do another shout out, believe it or not, for Unitox Femu, who super chatted after the show's ended. What's that? Bigfoot, no gravity, radius or Coriolis. Thank you very much for the super chat, Unitox Femu, even though you can't hear me saying it.
Sunday night, you'll hear it.
He'll be there. Don't worry.
So they use the word dark. Then the second word is matter. And we ask him, what is matter? So what are they saying in this calculation in mathematics? Dark matter actually is. I'm just trying to figure out what they're trying to say it is, even though they're making it up.
So they basically calculated that they have a missing matter that should account for the gravity, that should be enough to keep the galaxies together. But they cannot add up they can't figure out where the gravity is coming from based on what they see in terms of physical matter. So they postulate that there must be the matter that we cannot see that accounts for the extra gravity necessary to keep the galaxies together. So they call it dark matter.
Okay, so with that being said, how did they intertwine the bending of space-time?
They didn't. They never do. That's the whole issue.
Well, I know, but
Can we just
I'd like
find-
an explanation.
It's
Well,
not
you
the
just
law.
killed the argument, man.
Can I just simplify
Come on,
it?
let us have fun.
Can I just simplify it for 10th man? Imagine instead of gravity or bending of space-time, that instead of calling it that, you called it unicorn farts. And it was always just accepted that this particular concept was unicorn farts. Not anything different in terms of what it is, just the name of it is unicorn farts. And then at some point you go, we're going to need a unicorn. So what we'll do is we'll just insert one into this just so story by way of mathematics, and that will compensate for the fact that we don't currently have the unicorn for the unicorn farts.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Interchange that. Hey, listen,
Does that matter,
I'd
though?
like to touch upon
Occupy something. I'm sorry.
what Nathan mentioned earlier in regards to preconceived ideas and terms we use. I think that was yesterday that Nathan and Emo maybe talked about asteroids or meteors.
Yeah, it was released yesterday, but
Nathan-
it actually took place the day before yesterday. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, my
Meteors
bad.
going up.
My bad.
Yeah.
Meteors?
But it was interesting that how long it took for him to realize that just because you see a shooting star does not imply meteor or sphere. Like, it was so strange for me to hear him struggling with that.
No, it's a perfect example of what I described about 10 minutes ago. So when I was describing unwiring your heliocentric programming, so in that example,
right.
Spurs has constantly got a physical entity moving from the ground to the sky, and therefore it's an upward motion of a physical entity. And I'm trying to say to him, no, it's just a light that I've observed, and the way it seemed to do something, but even peppering it with seem to or apparently or any of those words, it wouldn't go through because he needs to describe it with a physical entity doing something, which for shooting stars, well, what are you going to describe with a light that could be, in the heliocentric model, the lights that I was describing 2 days ago were traveling millions of miles. Well, no, they weren't. It's just a light moving across the sky from my vantage point.
Yep. Yes,
Yes, just real quick, he took
physicality assumption bias. Classic.
Perfect.
Classic
Just hold on, Travis. Just repeat that again, Arwin, because you're spot on.
Yeah. Sperschemo was stuck in a physicality assumption bias cycle. He couldn't get out of the imagining it as physical objects moving within the real 3D space. He couldn't step away from that, pre-assuming that. And I've called that physicality assumption bias. You have to assume it's physical. It's too hard not to.
It's not even a parallel. It's the same thing, because typically when you've applied that in the past, you're describing somebody who, let's say we're talking about Mars, and the person who you're talking to just cannot get past the fact that for them it's a physical rock. They can't get past that. It's always going to be a physical rock. And I'm like, no, we're talking at cross purposes. I'm just talking about a light that's in the sky with a pattern that it follows. And you're talking about something with an orbit, and it's a physical rock, and it's got gravity, it's got all sorts of physical assumptions based around it, even though to me it's just a light. To them, it's something totally different because of their physical assumption bias. But in this instance, we've got a shooting star rather than Mars, and for me, it's much easier to detach that from the physical assumption. Whereas for Spurs, it wasn't. It's the same thing, right? It's a light in the sky, therefore, in his cognitive processing, well, let's describe it as a firework or a hot air balloon, because it must be something physical happening, right? No.
Right. He kept saying, no, this is impossible. It's impossible. There must be some trajectory here. This is impossible.
Well, it's a failure on our aesthetic part to come to terms, because really we're talking at cross purposes. When he says it's impossible, he's right, because he's cognitively processing a firework leaving from the ground. Well, no firework can go from below my horizon, even though we're at the top of a hill, so technically it could come from the ground. but traversing half the sky in a couple of seconds, all of those things sound impossible for a physical item to do, like a hot air balloon or firework. And he's right. But it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean I didn't witness a light in the sky, just moving very fast. You know, and loads of people have witnessed it, I'm sure.
Right. I've seen it too.
Well, what's the difference between that perception than the one that QE put with the boat hovering behind the Scottish Open? Do we think boats float in the air because there's something with perspective and magnification and miraging happening?
Well, it has physical features, right? A light in the sky is just light. You can't even determine if it has physical features. So,
no, I wasn't talking about the physical features part. I'm just saying to the eye, like Spurs is stuck on the physicality of it. I got that. And so for him, it's like, okay, Spurs, what about this boat that seems to be floating in midair? Do boats float in midair? No. Well, are boats physical? Yes. So what do you got to say about that? Oh, it's just perspective, the angles, this and that. Okay, well, what about what Nathan was saying then? Why aren't you attributing the same kind of thing there?
I thought there was a bit more subtle than that, Kens. Perhaps there's also struggle of understanding that things from the horizon can move towards you, whether it's physical or not, and not be appearing from beyond the edge of a sphere. I think that's what he was struggling as well.
Yes.
What I could hear is, upon other things, him struggling that Nathan describing something going up, meaning from the horizon vantage point towards him, going above, right? So the way you describe it is up, right? I think there's also like some kind of a failure of miscommunication. Or failure of
he said it can only happen on a sphere if Nathan's seen that.
Exactly, because he couldn't fathom the thing coming towards you without there being edge of a sphere or something. Like I just like what?
But that was his natural conclusion because he assumed it had to be a physical object coming from somewhere. It can't just shoot up from the ground out of nothing.
Right.
That's what was going on in his mind. So then he just felt forced to imagine it back in the ball in order to justify that sighting from the physicality assumption by his perspective.
Got one more example from that.
It's still a bit physical.
I've just got one more example from that location. So I gave him a couple. One was with the stuff that seems like it's really high up that moves around in all directions, and one was the shooting star example. But there's another example with something that's actually physical. This will hopefully blow you away as well. So you could witness something coming from the horizon, I won't detail what yet, and ending up below you. I'll explain what I mean. So, because that particular location up in Shropshire was it was high up on a hill, you were looking down on a valley, and what would happen is the RAF base, which was relatively nearby, they could fly the planes, which would come from the horizon, and as they got closer to you, they're below you. They're actually below where you're standing. In other words, you're looking down on the cockpit of a jet fighter as it passes you. Does that make sense? So it's coming from the horizon and ending up below your line of sight. Does that blow you away?
Yeah.
That could happen with a really big truck in the same way, you know?
Yeah, on a bridge. Yeah, exactly. If you're stood on a bridge, precisely, the truck would come from the horizon and eventually go underneath you on the bridge.
Yeah. But I want to add, I was actually blown away you mentioning things you can see in the sky moving around if you stare long enough. The reason I was blown away because I've never heard anybody else mentioning that, and I'm seeing those things all the time. I can concur. You're not crazy. I see them too.
I see them a lot upstate too.
It's dark enough, you'll see it. You've only got to let your eyes adjust to the darkness. I think the problem is generally that most people don't go from their natural light indoors to outdoors and then cut out all available light to the point. I mean, in this particular location, I'm not even kidding. When it was very, very, very dark, no moonlight, you could put your hand in front of your face and you couldn't see it. That's how dark it was.
Wow.
Very, very dark. But that takes a while for your eyes to actually adjust to. But once your eyes adjust to it, you can obviously see the heavens open up, and it is a sight for. It's something that you can't even put it into words to somebody who hasn't seen it. It is breathtaking, and the more you let your eyes adjust to it, the more you can see. but it eventually reaches a point where you see things high up, and I say high up, from my perception, high up, moving around. And it's not like, I said this when I detailed it last time, it's not like I'm seeing maybe something that's an effect of the back of my eye, just seeing, because it's so dark, I'm seeing something going around in my eye. Because my wife sat next to me, and I'm like, can you see that? And we both look at the same spot and go, yeah, I can see that moving around. Now it's going that way, now it's going that way. Well, it's definitely not a plane. Or I remember one of the conversations, my wife was like, well, it must be a satellite. And I explained how impossible that would be for us to see. And also the fact that it's just changed direction kind of debunks that idea. Like, oh, yeah, it's just gone the other way, hasn't it? In other words, we're both watching something. It's not an effect in my eyeball.
Yeah, they do all kinds of things. They stop, they change direction, they meet. Like I've seen a bunch of them meet and then go their own way. One thing that actually, who mentioned it the other day, talking about what we think of meteors going over so close that you could hear crackling.
That was me. That was me, actually.
Yeah, it flew right over us.
That was a long time ago.
I was going to say it was Arwin, and if it wasn't, he thought about it a long time ago.
What? Yeah, so same phenomenon happened.
I have a special Flat Earth Talks episode about meteors.
Can we not make this about you, Arwin? He's trying to get a point out.
No, but I did see, by the way, see a movie like yesterday too. I did see, you talked about it, and like that night, I did see one, and I thought
it's not going to stop. Arwin thought of this first. Let's all give him credit. A couple of people, quick, so this can end. Just give him a credit. Somebody, please.
What? You've given me plenty of credit.
Good job, Arwin.
Thank you, Travis. Go on, Rebel. Carry on.
So yeah, all I was going to say is when Arvin mentioned that, I remembered the incident. There's three of us, two of my brothers, all side, and it was fairly loud, and we could actually see what looks like a rock. We could see a fire, and we can actually hear it. It was quite a surreal experience. So I don't know,
like burning up manganese, right? Just like the fireworks on a stick, like that. Like that sound.
It was huge. Yeah, it was huge in the sky, and it sounded like something that you light up on fire and throw through the air really fast. And that's the crackling you hear, a crackling of fire.
No, that's impossible.
Burning up iron filings.
No, that's impossible. You didn't see that. I'm just doing a Spurs.
Thanks. I did actually see it.
But going back to I've seen it, and two other people seen it.
Sorry, just Neil, get you gagging again.
Yeah. Well, actually, many years later, we were maybe 7, 8 years old. Many years later, I met up with brothers and asked them, "Do you remember this thing?" I said, "Yeah." So we decided to track down what it was, and we did. They put that thing in the museum. We looked at the date. That's the date it was. We went to National Museum, and we saw that rock. Of course, it looked much smaller, so I don't know if it was true, the rock that they're talking about or not, but the dates matched up, and the location matched up.
I see. So you saw an event, and then years later tracked down any sort of history that was tracked from that time to this, and it turned out that a museum had claimed to have got the rock that had come from the sky, presented it, and it all tallied with what you'd observed in the sky, correct?
That's right, yes.
Cool, yes. Very cool. Obviously, as you've already declared, I don't need to back up what you've said, because you've put your disclaimers in terms of you don't know if it tallies, but it tallies in terms of the dates and the paper trail.
Yeah, it was back in the country I was born. But another thing, we've been, all three of us, also back to looking at the sky at night, is those things not only meeting together, but exploding. I don't know what that was, but something definitely created huge fireworks in the sky, and we thought it was a satellite. And we tracked two satellites going towards each other, what we thought was a satellite. And they were so bright, we were like, "Oh my God, look at that!" And then
did they explode kind of like the supposed or the thought of meteor explosions that have even been filmed from dash cams in Russia? Where they exploded right over the city. That type of.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about. Think of a Disney fireworks, right? Not minus the colors, just monocolor, like an orangey color. But in terms of the explosion, there's no fire. It literally felt like it's deep in space, something blew up, right? Because the explosion wasn't like natural. It was just like, looked like a fireworks. It looked like CGI in the movie. That's how it looked like. But the funny part about this is we all thought that we were dreaming. Only to realize that many years later we were celebrating birthday, and I decided to share the dream that, okay, I have this dream, you and I, all three of us in the backyard playing around, and we're spotting this thing. And they look at me like weird. Dude, I have the same dream. And I have the same dream. So we figured.
Hold on.
We reckon that we actually saw what we thought we saw, because it was so surreal. Kind of your subconscious kind of puts it in the back burner, but it keeps occurring to you, like a feeling of deja vu. Like you think you saw it, but you're not sure was it a dream or not. But when you bring it up and other people say, yeah, no, I exactly the same feeling. Yeah, I thought it was a dream. I'm glad you mentioned it. So yeah.
Or it could have been a shared dream, but yeah, or not.
Yeah.
All I know is I gotta get a hot tub because I hear about hot tub horizon.
Wake up,
I hear
Huey.
Janik with hot tub torpedoes and Coriolis.
Yeah, Huey's not sharing dreams here.
Hey Neil, amazing things happen in hot tubs, sir.
Hang on. Kiwi's thinking about tomorrow's show, so he was sleeping soundly.
Da-da. Good one.
He's actually going to be putting soundly to sleep Saturday.
But yeah, you don't need the hot tub to see these things. Just go out and stare at the night sky, clear sky, at least 5-10 minutes.
That was a great line. I just put in an order for a hot tub just because I wanted to see it. I'll cancel it. Thanks.
You don't need the hot tub, but the hot tub helps because it means that you can sit and relax, right? That's the idea. So the hot tub isn't necessary, but it definitely helps.
Hold on. I have a theory. Maybe since the celestial lights are most likely to be electrical in nature in some way, it might actually help for you to be grounded in water of some kind in order to have the electrical effects be more pronounced of the heavenly
Now
lights.
you're talking my language, Arwen. I'm sitting in a hot tub right now, and I think so clearly when I'm in there.
Is that so?
Yeah, you see.
I didn't expect that. Did you?
Don't shoot torpedoes, bro.
Y'all want video proof?
No, thank you. I'm good. No, definitely not.
No,
well, y'all wouldn't believe it.
I believe you. I believe you.
Please show us the jets in your hot tub.
I can show level water.
What's your temperature?
I don't know. I guess about 80. I don't know. Wait, are we talking about Xanax, like rotating hot tub with torpedoes? 85, 90?
I was just going to say, more important, are you experiencing Coriolis effect?
No, I'm not. I'm looking out over my pool. That water is level, too.
You need more beer.
I hate Rakia life.
Yeah. It's a good life, sir. You ought to get on it.
Can I get more beer to experience Coriolis effect?
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, that's technically true. If you got drunk and started spinning around, then technically you become a non-inertial reference frame, right? So no, this is true.
That's good.
What I'm saying is, if you're standing under a lamppost and you're drunk and you're spinning around, you look up and go, "This is literally what people would say. Whoa, the lamppost is moving." Well, that's not actual deflection that you're observing because you're spinning around because you're drunk. It's not the lamppost that's moving; it's you spinning underneath it.
You come home and you say, "Honey, I'm not drunk. I'm experiencing Coriolis."
Yeah.
The last resort for the ballers to prove the earth is spinning is beer.
You couldn't do that. Doesn't work because you'd be spinning around whilst having that conversation.
Yep.
Why does Alcohol do that.
Yeah, but
to you
they'd feel
anyway.
pretty
I
damn
remember as a
confident
teenager-
about themselves while doing it.
Yeah, even if you're disorientated, like you've had a blow to the head or very drunk, while things in the room are described as being like taking a spinning motion, they're not. In other words, you're not seeing what's behind you and then what's in front of you. You're not actually spinning. It's just the room seems to be moving if you're very drunk. But that's not spinning.
No doubt. No. I was spinning. That room was doing three.
It wasn't. It didn't even appear to. I promise. You can't see behind your own head.
So couldn't you cheat on your significant other and call it gravity? Mass attracting mass?
Mass
I want to be a
attracting ass.
Grover again, I think. They got all the excuses.
Mother-in-law jokes.
You
Friday
missed that
afternoon.
one, Dave. Go ahead, chocolate.
Oh, what'd he say?
Mass attracting ass.
Some masses are bigger than others.
Hey, there's more proof of that than mass attracting mass.
Any women on the panel?
Tell you what.
We need somebody female
I
to tell these people
like
off.
big mass.
Are we talking about orbits around Uranus?
Oh God. Oh God! Somebody shoot me.
You got math on her?
All right. Let's be serious. Jackie is here. Jackie, pipe down.
Yeah, let's get serious.
Yeah, serious.
Well, I just
Jackie,
looked
please
up
help us.
while your kids are 12 years old. I just looked up beer warning labels, and it says drinking too many units of beer may cause Coriolis.
Coriolis.
I do not believe you, 10th man. But it is funny.
Of course it does.
Coriolis.
Of course. Boom, boom.
Of course it does. Yeah.
Rakia, you're my bud.
This is terrible. This is getting awful. You're my bud.
Coriolis doesn't affect Miller Lite as much as it does regular Miller.
Yeah, I'm being serious, right? At this point, I'd rather talk about Corona.
Hang on.
Where is the Coriolis beer brand?
Hold on, I'm going. These jokes all deserve a Pabst
so
Blue
fast
Ribbon.
I pulled my Heineken.
Pabst is cheap.
My Heineken.
We
Go on,
need a
Travis.
Coriolis beer brand with a twisting, what is it? What do you call it? Lid thing.
Oh, Schlitz.
Depends on how it
Schlitz malt liquor.
Schlitz malt liquor?
What? No.
Look, seriously, and I'm not going to say it again. I'm being serious this time.
Beer
Hello,
needs a twisting
I'm being
cap.
serious. Can we put a blue ribbon around this and just move on?
Depends on how it appeals to you.
I thought of that first.
Tough guy. You say you think we're Pabsted?
Yeah, Pabst it. Dire. This is going out Sunday. Can't we talk about
afternoon.
Jesus or something?
This is a very stellar conversation.
This is right up 10th man's alley.
You know what? Something ails me right now. I don't know what, but
Oh God. It's never gonna end.
To go down in the Guinness Book of World Records as the dumbest conversation.
Let's talk about some globe heads. Let's think about globe heads to talk about. That'll take us off topic. Let's talk about George Netanyahu. Didn't he pretend to talk to Bill Miller?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
oh gosh, that was hilarious.
Pretend.
So there will be plenty beer advertisements going on with this video.
Well, it was only a light conversation.
You're not gonna let this end, Nathan, are you?
Look, you just keep on perpetuating it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
This is only the first draft.
It's only the first draft.
He's on a roll.
That was an ultra statement.
Watch out now.
That's what I,
I don't
call a
want to
beer
whine
conversation.
here, but maybe we should move on to another subject.
No, stop whining.
It's either that or you're going to get, and with that.
What's that?
No, I'm good. I'm quite happy, actually. I'm not going to round out the show, if that's what you're implying.
This is what happens when you're not bombarded with globe proof. We gotta sit around talking about beer.
That's true. We need some time to relax after Chaiki.
Chaiki.
Come on, Chaiki, say something.
Yeah.
Come on, Sloop.
Yeah. Cheki's very stout. He's got something to say.
You better watch it. This is going to get dark. Hold on.
All right, let's see if any of his arguments have got legs.
Yeah, the beer puns are getting a bit stale.
We're just beginning.
Zanuck here?
We've all took it out the beer puns. Fine. Excellent.
Oh, please, no Zanuck.
I'm going to give somebody a blue ribbon. Come on. They got to get a blue ribbon.
No, we're just recycling them now.
I thought of that one first.
He got rumpus, though.
Yeah, we got you.
I think you'll find Arwin thought of that one first, actually.
Yeah. Guys, you got to stop this or we'll all get hangovers.
No, I'm getting bushed out.
Oh,
You gotta take this flat Earth reality in small sips.
Oh, there we go.
Head for the mountain.
It will give you a big head over time, though. Come on.
Did I see a panelist in?
He cut out. What did he say?
Anheuser. He saw a panelist called Anheuser.
Nice.
Speaking of Zanuck, yesterday in the after show, I stuck around and somebody asked about, a Globy asked about, how do you explain clouds eliminated by the sunset? To which I responded, it's the local phenomenon, meaning it's only relative to the observer. And rather than sun directly shining underneath the cloud. Anyway, I gave a few examples of it, to which Zanuck responded, no. I can show you the picture of a sunset. I said, yes, I know, you can show me a picture of a sunset, but you cannot turn around and take the picture to expect the clouds being illuminated the same way they are illuminated when you're staring at the sun. He said, yes, I can. And I called him on it. I said, you absolutely cannot produce that kind of picture without staring at the sunset. He doubled down and tripled down and was like completely unreasonable.
Anyone ever tell you sound like Morgan Freeman?
Hold on. I'm glad you brought it up. I'll post a picture. Maybe you can explain this to me.
No, hold on.
It's your picture. Why don't you explain it?
Because Rebel's already opened these floodgates.
Okay.
Hold on. Right, the situation has been explained by Rebel. He has already allowed this to happen. Therefore, it's not unreasonable that he gets presented it by Chaiki, and we discuss it. Yeah, you're right, QE. You shouldn't be explaining this, Rebel, but you've already been put in the position and taken the bait. So therefore, you've dug this hole. Let's see what Chaiki's got, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right. So I'll explain what you see in the picture, and you explain to me how this happens on flat Earth. See, the sun is below the cloud, illuminating it below. However, the airplane is above the cloud.
The airplane.
How that happens?
So, first of all, that wasn't what I was talking about. You're changing it to completely different.
No, it's slightly different.
Oh, let me finish. What Zanuck claimed, that as a person standing on the ground, staring at the sunset, seeing illuminated clouds from underneath. Then he said you can turn around to prove that it's the sun illuminating clouds and take the picture and see the same clouds being illuminated. Not meaning the same clouds, but other clouds pass you from the line of between the sun, you, and where you're staring. To which I said that's impossible.
To which I say you're wrong. Now, let's
prove it.
go back.
Okay.
Hold on, Rebel. Hold on. Go ahead, Chikey.
So how do you explain the sun below the cloud that is below the airplane?
Didn't you just listen to a word he said?
Yes, I did.
Nope.
And the airplane is not below the cloud that's being lit from underneath, by the way.
Yes, it's above.
The airplane is above the clouds that are below it, but those clouds off in the distance, how do you know those clouds are below the airplane? It looks, those clouds, the ones that are being illuminated by the sun from underneath, look like they're above the airplane. No matter if they are or not, that's just a phenomena. That's a light phenomena. That's not the sun going below the clouds.
Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. The question Chikey is asking, how do I explain sun being below the cloud? Am I correct?
Yes, below the cloud, that is below the.
I'm sorry, what's below the airplane?
The cloud.
The clouds below the airplane. You're talking about the cloud above the sun, or?
The problem here,
yeah.
Kiwi, are you there? Can you make your point again? Because now I've got no choice but to let you make that point, which is to say that Rebel's trying to explain a point that isn't his claim, and he's got no vague clue how to explain something that you've presented. It's down to you to present it, Chikey. And now I've stopped QE, and I feel totally unreasonable now because we've very quickly reached that point where it's what do you think it proves? It's your photo. That was QE's originally point.
Of course, it proves Earth is not flat. Otherwise, this would never happen.
Yeah, but you have no curvature.
Hold on, Chocolate.
So,
Hold on. Just take us through it. Just fine. Excellent. This is marvelous news. Wow. Okay, talk us through how it proves we're a sphere. It's not flat, as you put it.
It's a sphere. In a sphere, you can see things that below you appear to be above things that are above you. It's very simple. Well, the sun is not above you. It's in the distance, but we know it's above Earth.
You just...
hold
on.
Master B.
Hold on. So, I didn't hear what you said. Just 1 second, though. I want Rebel to respond, but I want you to summarise your point again.
My point is, this cannot happen on flat Earth. Impossible.
Okay, go ahead, Rebel.
All right. Okay, Chikey. You realize what perspective is, right?
Right.
So let's say the sun is, we're just going to go on the imaginary land here because you don't understand perspective. You telling me that...
Hold on. Before you make a fool of yourself, I post a picture. You will see the situation on flat Earth. That's the situation. Observer above the cloud, sun above observer. Flat. Never happened.
I'm not sure what picture you're talking about.
He's talking about his cartoon he put up where the sun is so much closer. Move the sun out further and it's reflecting and going underneath the cloud.
No, I need to move it up a lot.
You can move it however you want.
Okay, without giving me a cartoon, give me a picture that depicts this.
No, he
where
has.
The
He has.
Cloud.
He has. It's in the Discord live stream. So it's a picture of a line of cloud on the left above a sun in the center frame with clouds beneath it.
Can I interject a little?
Hold on. Just while Rebel's looking, yes. Go ahead, Arwin.
Right. So I will state that whatever cloud the photographer is looking at has photographed in distance where the sun appears to hit the clouds from the bottom, right? Well, I promise you, it's my personal promise that any person that is literally under that physical cloud, because the cloud is a physical thing, you can actually approach it, it'll get bigger and all that, that is sitting under that cloud will probably not have the sun hitting it from the bottom from their perspective, because the sun is it's a personal light. It only gives you a view specifically based on the light angles from your perspective to everything that is within your sight range. That's my claim.
Perfect.
Precisely. So,
what's your claim? The airplane is above the cloud. How do you?
I don't understand the picture you're talking about. We're talking about picture, not the cartoon. The picture I'm looking at, I'm seeing orange sun with the red strikes with a little illuminated cloud above it. And the sun appears to be at the horizon. Is that the picture we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So now listen carefully. Sun, number one, is further away than the cloud. Is that correct? Okay, cool. So if it's further away, therefore, necessitatively, it would move closer to the vanishing point. Is that correct? Where is the vanishing point in this picture?
I don't know.
It's your photo. You should know where the vanishing point is.
No, I didn't say anything about vanishing point.
Okay, so if this picture is taken and was not cropped, the vanishing point is 100% with any lens we take in the photo is exactly in the middle of the photograph. That's where the sun appears to be. That's why I'm saying you don't understand the perspective. And that's number one. What?
The cloud is below the airplane. Excuse me.
Below the airplane.
Why it's above the vanishing point?
How did you determine?
Where's the
cloud
hair?
is below?
How I determine?
Yeah, it's below.
The airplane continue flying and it was above.
That's not what I see. I see the cloud being above the horizontal point in the photograph.
Yes.
So it's just your assertion. It's your assertion. You can't claim, giving this picture.
No, of course. Hold on. I'll give you the link to the video. And I have a picture of the clouds below.
Yeah, but what he's saying is he needs the pedigree information. You just can't post a photo, right? You're saying the plane's above the cloud, the one that's reflecting the sun's light. You're going to need the elevation of that cloud in the plane. You got to be hyper specific here if you're going to make a claim, not just la-di-da, post a pic and give your friggin' philosophy, right? We want the pedigree information.
Can I interject something?
No.
On
Let
this?
Chaiki respond. Hold on. I want a response from Chaiki. So you said you're going at the video. Does the video give you the height of this cloud?
No, it's a bit hard to measure, but the airplane is at 44,000.
Sure.
Is
So
it
you know the height of the plane.
Or flying level?
Hold on. Just want to summarize this
Yeah,
point.
so you see any
hold on.
any
Hello.
cloud?
What was the elevation of the
Hello. No, so you can't say definitively that it's above or below the plane then, because you haven't got the vaguest clue how high it is.
According to the pilot, several thousand.
Are you now muttering again? Just a yes, that's correct. I have no idea how high this cloud is to be able to determine if it's above or below the vantage point of the person taking this picture. But your claim requires that. You appreciate that, right? It's the end of your argument. You appreciate that, right?
No, it doesn't. I can say 1 meter. I can say 1.
What, you're saying this
We know
cloud's
you're
at 1
full of
meter?
crap.
Is that what you're saying? The cloud's at 1 meter? This cloud?
I can say it's several thousand.
No, we don't care what you say. Has it got a measurement? How was it measurement? What was that measurement that's been acquired by actually measuring it? You've already answered. You don't have that.
Yeah,
video
you
doesn't
see
have
the
that.
airplane.
Therefore,
You
you
see the
can't make this
airplane?
assertion. And while I summarise that you cannot make your claim based on the fact that you haven't got a measurement to it, you start talking through me. You have lost. It is the end of the road, fundamentalist zealot. Not the opportunity to talk through the summary of your death, but a time for you to sit down and reflect on how wrong you are. Not talk through me. Okay?
Okay, I let you choose how below the airplane the cloud is. You can make any number that is.
Oh, hold on. Can I just chime in here? Your claim is this is impossible if the Earth is flat, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You can't know that because you're not looking through void, right? You have to understand you're looking through atmosphere, right? Right. So what does atmosphere or the air does to the light? Do you know?
At 44,000 feet.
Nah, that's wrong.
That's wrong.
That is
It
false.
refracts the light.
Yeah,
I knew he was gonna say
you can
it.
prove me wrong.
We don't have to prove you wrong. That's just logic. Come on, man.
Of course.
You're being disingenuous now. This is the
You
point.
say
You're
wrong.
also
You need to
saying
prove
that
me.
this
This
is
is where the
possible
this
on
is
a
the
flat
point
Earth,
where the
but
whole
you have
audience
no
knows you're being
curvature,
disingenuous.
aka geometric horizon. So whatever's happening in this picture is happening on a flat plane anyway. So you're not saying anything.
Those clouds are up there, and
it's
you're
the
saying there's
cloud.
no density, there's no gas layer, there's no heat and cold. You're being ridiculous, Shike.
And my point is, according to a mainstream convention, the sun, position of the sun you will see while looking through the air will appear lower than it actually is. Lower. The key word is lower. It depends on the weather conditions. What do you mean, how much? Listen to the words.
Roughly.
Listen to the words I'm saying. Lower. What do you mean, how much? The angle.
Give me an estimate.
You can't estimate. That's where you go wrong. You're estimating.
10, 20.
You can estimate if you want, but you can't. You estimated the height of that cloud, and you were wrong.
Hold on. Just 1 second.
No,
so what's happened is, it's the end of the road for Chaiki's argument. But now, rather than conceding or acknowledging in any way, shape or form that his argument's fallen to pieces, he's now reversed the burden of proof and asked you for an explanation for something that you're not claiming and haven't presented. Now, you've all bitten, but Chaiki's road has come to an end. That's the bit that needs highlighting. You don't need to now start explaining it on his behalf. It's not your claim.
Yes, it's my claim. Perspective won't
Not you.
make this up.
Not you, you idiot.
Nate.
Chaiki, you idiot!
You don't have any Earth curve, man. So whatever's happening in the picture is happening on a flat plane. Like, how does this prove that we live on a ball?
This doesn't
You don't have any
happen
Earth
on
curve. You guys say you don't have any geometric horizon. So what the hell are we even talking about?
You know, perspective.
Wait a minute. He's made another claim. He's made another.
Chaiki's just wasting our time now, man. It's just
because Chocolate doesn't know anything about nothing. He always say, "I don't understand."
Oh, okay. You got no.
I know that you guys
See?
claim that you have no geometric horizon, can't see it. That's your Earth curve. You guys have conceded your model. I know that. What do you know? You're asking what's going on in this picture.
No, I was
and
talking
it can't
about
happen on a flat plane. What the hell are you saying?
I was talking about.
Mikey, do you have a geometric horizon? Nah, right?
What do you mean?
Chaiki is melting.
So let's see if Chaiki's got a response to Chocolate's question. Then yes, Paul. Do you have a geometric horizon, Chaiki?
Me personally, no. I don't own one.
All right, you'd need one though to do geometry. Moving on.
Yeah,
Paul, go ahead, Paul.
No, you don't.
What, you don't need a geometric horizon to do geometry? Yeah, you do. Moving on, Paul.
Yeah. Do you know?
Yeah, it's the clue's in the title. Geometric horizon is required for your sphere Earth assertion with geometry. The clue is in the title. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, try to keep up.
Okay, real quick. He did make a claim that this can never, keyword there, never happen on the flat Earth. That's what he said very clearly. Now, to make that claim, he has to know all the variables within a flat Earth to say that that would not occur for him to make that claim. He'd also have to know exactly the nature of this world to make that claim, to say that it would never happen on a flat Earth. Chaiki, can you show us all the variables that you accounted for? Did you figure out the geometry, figure out the atmospheric conditions, the temperature variations, the density gradients, everything that would have to be accounted for to say this would never happen? Have you done that?
I don't need to. We're talking about perspective. Perspective doesn't do it. You want to add parameters. The burden is
funny that you guys can't do that with the black swan, but you ask everybody else to do it.
I'm just a bit confused, Chaiki. If we're talking about... Hold on, just one second. Just want to get some clarity. If we're talking about perspective, why is that not accounted for when you take measurements of Earth curve?
because it's not needed.
But you've just said we're talking about perspective. So what you're saying, it's simultaneously about perspective, but it's not needed when you calculate Earth curve. It is. It's obviously something that's worth talking about. That's why I'm asking you why you're now bringing it up.
No, it's not. Two different
That's called double speak, Chaiki.
So you're about to bring up perspective, and it's explained by perspective, but simultaneously perspective's not relevant, correct?
Chaiki, in this photograph.
Wow.
Chaiki, in this photograph, was it the morning or was it an afternoon?
Afternoon.
I'm reading from the Wikipedia atmospheric refraction. Astronomical or celestial refraction causes astronomical objects to appear higher above the horizon than they actually are. Terrestrial refraction usually causes terrestrial objects to appear higher than they usually are, although in the afternoon, when the air near the ground is heated, the rays can curve upward, making objects appear lower than they actually are. And that is, of course, all depends on weather conditions to the degree of which they will appear lower or higher. So that's your proof of refraction.
Yeah, terrestrial. Talking about 44,500 feet above the terrestrial.
Okay, well, here, wait a minute, though, Chaiki. But the problem is, how far is the sun from the observer? And what's the density gradient?
I don't know.
What's all the variables? You don't know. So you can't make
No, we don't. We're not talking about the sun.
Did you say terrestrial refraction?
If the sun look above,
doesn't matter.
The sun look above. Hold on. If the sun look above, then where it is, then you're in a bigger trouble.
So it does. What is refraction, Chaiki?
No, hold on. If the sun is above, we're not in the bigger trouble. The sunlight still has to shoot through multiple layers of air, right? Of gases.
No. Listen,
what do you mean, no?
The sun appears higher than it should be.
Excuse me.
Meaning it's slower.
Did you just say no?
Yes.
You said no.
You don't understand what I say.
Excuse me.
You don't understand what you say and what I.
That's a hand wave.
No, I'm not hand waving. It was said that things will appear to be higher.
Listen, you're interrupting me.
If the sun
appears
to be higher,
light
it's lower.
does not shoot through multiple layers of gas density. You said no. Everybody heard it. That's dumb.
No, that's not.
Forget about that. He said it can never happen on a flat plane. Can you please demonstrate some curvature?
Hold on, Neil. No.
To demonstrate
hold on,
curvature.
Hold on, Rebel, hold on. Chaiki, what's being put to you is your denial of this observation of this not actual position of the sun going through various layers of air. And you're denying that, and that's why Rebel's getting frustrated. How can you possibly deny that and say no to that?
Crickets.
I'm not denying that. I said that it was said that this will make the sun appear to be higher than where it is. And if it appears to be higher than where it is, it means it's slower than where we actually sit, and that makes even a bigger problem.
So now that you just turned it around. I specifically asked you when the phenomena took place. Remember what you said? It was an afternoon. Now, if you read the Wikipedia just one paragraph further than you just read, you will understand why I've asked you that question.
Why do you ask this?
Man, I've not only found it for you, I've read it. You reading it and you asking me. Okay, I'll repeat it for very slow people. In the afternoon, after the air is heated, the phenomena reverses. The celestial objects and the sun will appear lower. Lower, the key word is lower than they actually are. Not higher.
Yes, well, how high?
Okay, is that a yes or no? Is that a yes or no? Because you were just reversing. Okay, so
Yes.
say, I'm sorry I was wrong.
So, how high is the sun?
Don't ask him a question. Say, sorry, King Rebel, I was incorrect. Not ask him a question, asshole. You were wrong. He's proven it.
You're reading from Wikipedia that is based on a sphere. You can't read.
Sorry,
it.
you conceded to the point from Wikipedia in terms of the raising versus lowering of the sun.
Yes,
you
because it's a globe.
Now listen, regardless the globe or flat, the sun will still. No, let me fucking finish.
You can't disregard.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Regardless the shape, whoever's making the crackle noises, man, stop please. Regardless the shape, the sunlight would have to shoot through multiple layers of air. Yes or no? Through multiple layers of air. Why are you bringing the shape up? We're not talking about the shape. We're talking about phenomena of light refraction.
Yes, but this is because
That's a yes. Okay, then you were wrong.
Stop.
No, don't.
Stop, Chotiki. Shut up.
Yes.
Let's stick him on mute. What an asshole. He now thinks that now that we've reached the same point again where he's been pummeled, he's going to talk non-stop through you. Feel free to summarise him and tell him off as well while you're at it, Rebel.
Yeah, so we were talking about the phenomena of light refraction, and he says you cannot do it because it's taking from the source that premises the different shape. No one talks about the shape when we're talking about the light phenomena shooting through the layers of air. It happens irregardless of shape. Now, I'm conceding that to him. At the same time, him pointing out that that source cannot be used by me because its premise is on a different shape. Now, that being said, and him considering that that phenomenon happened regardless of the shape, means that looking through the position, whatever the observer happens to be at the sun in the afternoon at the horizon, will have the phenomenon of that object being below its actual position, regardless of the shape. That's the entire point. So you cannot claim that this photograph or video telling you the actual position of the sun. That's the entire point.
Right. And initially when you said it's going through the air, he said no. And then we had a load of obfuscation, a load of rumpusing, and now we've reached the same conclusion and he's got to say yes. At the point where he rumpused and obfuscated last time. So we've got a double speaker, of course.
No, what you mentioned would not happen on flat Earth. No, it depends on the position of the sun relative to the sphere.
And no concession.
Otherwise,
zero
this
concession
wouldn't
then.
be in
Sorry, zero concession. Haven't listened to a word of it. First you said yes, yes. Then you said, no, sorry. First you said no, no, it's not going through air. No, it's not having any transition. No, no. Atmospheric effects, no. And then we had to go around a whole bunch of obfuscations for you to get to the actual conclusion, which is reality. Reality based on your rhetoric, I might add. This is just based on your nonsense. But you had to concede yes. At which point, Rebel summarised, you've been put in your place, you were wrong, but no concession though. Just move on to the next point, right?
This would not happen on.
I knew it.
He's just chanting.
Just chanting, yeah. Absolutely. Just chant his point over and over again. You've been proven wrong. Why can't you just have some humility?
No, you're not proving me wrong. You're reading from
Get out,
Wikipedia,
you
which
piece
is
of scum.
based on the
You're total scum, all of you. You're all scum with zero humility. It's been laboured, it's been stressed. He tried to obfuscate it when he said no. No, we're not looking through different atmosphere. No. Yeah, according to your rhetoric you are, though. And then we'll get him to concede that. Labour it 2 or 3 times. No, you haven't proven me wrong. Yeah, we bloody have. Piss off. Get out. These people are all assholes. No, don't blame you. I'm glad I got to see it from this side of the microphone, Rebel. You getting frustrated with him. Yeah, I get it every day, and it is incredibly frustrating. You've made your point, you've illustrated your point, you've laboured your point, you've got him to concede your point, and then when it's time for him to just say, yeah, I was wrong, well, no, I was still correct. I'm going to reiterate the same exact point you've taken apart for 20 minutes. Asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand it. I give you grief sometimes for getting frustrated. And now I'm in your shoes. I get to experience that from from a position of somebody trying to explain and proving somebody wrong. You're using their own sources of information, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's incredibly frustrating. So at this point, I think we're just doing it for the benefit of our audience, really.
Precisely.
To
but it's still frustrating.
How disingenuous these people are.
Yeah, he kind of almost claimed that air disappears just because you're up 40,000 feet.
Yeah, when he said no, that's exactly correct. When he's saying no, the atmospheric effects, no. Exactly. He's saying, oh, well, I'm up at this height, therefore all of those things can just be ignored completely. And obviously Rebel's going to get pissed off at that, because that's not their rhetoric. It's not anybody's rhetoric because it's nonsense, but the point is that at that point you've either got to get him to concede that he's talking complete nonsense, that he's saying no and he means yes, but of course he's going to talk through that. Me labouring that point, we got talked through, didn't it? Well, because he's lost. But these people have got not one shred of humility. Rather than actually conceding they've lost, they'll just reassert their point again. Zero humility.
Can I pose 2 questions on this photograph, or are we done with it?
Still on screen. Feel free.
All right. So I'm just looking at this. I'm going to try to forget everything that was said before, so I come in without a bias. If I'm just looking at this for the first time and understanding what perspective is, I'm looking at the cloud directly in front of the airplane here between the sun, and only the right side very tip is lit from underneath to the top, and then as you go left it's dark. So immediately I would assume that it's not dark where it's lit, because it would act the same way where it's dark where it's not lit. Then if I go to the sun itself, it looks like a whole line of clouds, but the sun is in front of it. Well, if the sun is 93 million miles away, how in the world are the clouds behind the sun?
And also your first point, how is it lighting one tiny tip of one cloud? If it's a considerable distance, obviously the spread of light would be across that whole cloud, would it not?
Sure.
Good point. It's more of a point than a question. There's not going to be an answer. It's not 93 million miles away. We haven't got the vaguest idea what it is, let alone how far it is. But yes, your points all stand. Absolutely correct.
It's funny how they want refraction when it works in their favor, but when we bring refraction that works against them, they obfuscate.
Or deny it entirely, as we experienced then.
That's all they got.
Now, it sounded like R.C. Meisty, if I'm correct, who interrupted, but got shut down quick because there was a talk between Rebel, and
Yep,
he
that's
said
what I
something
heard.
about Black Swan. So where are you, R.C. Meisty, in your accelerating coffee cups?
Why are we being asked to explain what happens on a proven flat Earth? Right? If you have no curve, it's flat, and what happens, happens. Why are we all of a sudden having to prove every little aspect of reality? I don't get it.
To that, we're doing that not for those who ask the question, but we're doing that primarily, I think I'm speaking on behalf of many people, for the benefit of our audience. Right? I've heard the same questions being answered many times. That doesn't mean there's no place for these questions to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the new people coming in for the first time hearing about the subject. It's going to be new for them. You veterans, you're like, oh my God, here we go again, refraction and curvature, right? Yeah, but we have to be patient, I know, it's easy to lose cool. I do it. I'm admitting it. I'm in Nathan's shoes, and I'm like, shit, it's really bad. It's trying to contain yourself. It requires a lot of control. But yeah, we're doing it not for the Chaiki benefit or Zanuck. We're doing it for the benefit of listeners. And it's great that these guys are being assholes, because that shows how disingenuous the globe side is.
That's exactly what was a flat Earth proof for me, is how disingenuous the opposing side was when I first came to this argument. I would see how they treated people and how they acted and how they wouldn't answer questions, because, that just proved to me that they had to attack for a reason. I get it.
Well, let me address that in a different way, Dave. They say that the geometric horizon, the physical one that needs to be there, as Chocolate put it, it's not there, is not being able to be spotted or seen or measured because of refraction and the atmosphere, but it's really there, but we can't see it. And so all you see is the apparent horizon, which means there's two, which is absurd. Then when you go to refraction, they like to use it, as Paul said, when it aids them in something, or they think it does. Then when you go to the source of their refraction, Andrew Thomas Young from San Diego State University, he clearly states that all of his refraction calculations were done on a flat plane. A plane. Now, Chaiki said this can't happen on a flat plane, and yet all the refraction studies that they use and obfuscate when convenient were given and derived and calculated from a flat plane. Then later, Dr. Andrew Thomas Young says you can convert it to make it work on a sphere. So, Chaiki, if you're listening, your own side got all the refraction calculations off of something you say cannot happen, a flat plane.
That's what we call a double speak.
Yeah, I can't answer when I'm muted. Yeah, refraction can happen on flat planet. So please do demonstrate.
Let me get it straight. We've had a claim that it can't happen on a flat plane. Now we've got a complete concession, right, Cherokee? It can. You were wrong, again.
Come on, Chaiki, you're getting there. It's so slow. So slow.
I sure do miss the beer puns.
Have we reached a point yet? Was there a point to all this?
Nah.
Number one, when somebody comes up and asks
It
you,
will cause.
Oh, now he wants to chime in.
Yep,
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, of course. He's waiting for you to start making a point. He didn't have a word to say while he's put on the spot or needs to concede that he's a dipshit. Second you start talking, that's when he needs to start talking. So he did.
Right. I mean, what the hell? We left 30 to 45 seconds of silence. As soon as I start talking, you start. Why?
Jake.
My word. People. Grow the fuck up. Number one, if somebody comes and asks you to explain their claim, you laugh in their face. Right? Now, I understand what Rebel said. In some venues, then it's appropriate to go ahead and for the audience to go ahead and explain your freaking claim, which most of the time, most of you knuckle draggers don't even know your claim. You don't know it. You don't bring any pedigree information. You just post a pic and then give us your philosophy, right? That's horse shit. That's second grade bullshit, right? You don't have the height of the clouds. You don't have the height of the plane. That's just one thing. That's not a really big thing. I just made a point with it, right? Number two, everyone knows, and Arwen said it, that if you would have somebody go to underneath that cloud that's lit up, it's not lit up to them. Do you understand that?
I understand what you say.
You understand that, right? So there's some games afoot. We don't know all the variables. Neither do you. You don't know what you don't know. You just don't look at a picture. Oh, can't feel the flat earth. What are you, some kind of retard? Formulate your arguments. Before you come in here, formulate your arguments, for God's sake. Like an adult. Don't come bumbling and stumbling in here just with a photo that you got off who knows where you got a Jose JG retard or somebody, right? And just start talking about your philosophy, how this proves your friggin' train wreck philosophy. It's a joke. You got nothing. So you're saying that photo's caused by a sphere? Really? Well, that's a cause and effect relationship. You know what we use to elucidate and validate and confirm cause and effect relationships? The scientific method. So what's your hypothesis? I want the independent and dependent variables right now. Validate what you're talking about. Not a story, not your explanation. Give it some cowbell. Now put the hypothesis down here and let me bash it in the head with a friggin' spade shovel. Idiots.
Yeah, that's very okay. Well, my only claim was that
what was your original point? You already conceded.
You have to talk over me.
You already conceded that from one perspective, the light hits the cloud in a completely different apparent way as from the other perspective. So what is left of your point? Where is this heliocentrism?
Any such thing. Let me talk, please. Let me talk. My only claim was that due to perspective, this will never happen. Any claim about refraction that you bring, the burden of proof is on you.
What? What?
Yes, I was talking about perspective. That's all.
So then you bring in refraction? So do you mean terrestrial
No, I
refraction?
didn't bring refraction. You did.
What? Guys, I'm kind of lost here. What?
He's drunk.
Wait, who?
No, I don't see. Refraction is undeniable. You need to show how this refraction caused this phenomena. Of course you do. You brought it. No, I conceded, yes. But I don't concede that this refraction will cause this effect on a flat.
We're still waiting on the hypothesis, man.
I think I'm getting selective sounds through or something. This is weird. Who's Jackie talking to?
I don't know. I'm still waiting on the hypothesis for this photo.
No, this is an observation, QE. I don't need a hypothesis.
You don't need a hypothesis for a cause and effect relationship, then we can stop the discussion right here. Right?
Jackie,
no geometry.
Jackie, are you having a psychotic episode? Because what you're blurting out in the last 3 minutes, I really don't know what the fuck
I'm
you're
just
talking
proving.
about.
I'm just proving you don't know what you're talking.
Guys, is he? Am I far off?
I don't know. I think everyone left, man. I think it's just me, you, and Chikey. And I'm not liking that threesome.
Yeah, there's a whole Discord server still here listening to this nonsense.
Unhygienic, maybe.
Who brought refraction in? You haven't even clarified what type of refraction you're talking about. And you're talking about necessity.
He tried to sneak in terrestrial
What
refraction.
necessity?
He tried to smuggle it in real quick.
Are you okay? Are you okay,
What
Arwin?
necessity of
claim-
refraction in anything? And what type of refraction? You're just blurting out.
Arwin, I did
nonsense.
not claim any refraction.
You just brought it on the table as something that I supposed
No,
to claim.
I-
I never even brought it up. And what is going on, man? Get your medication. This is getting really bad.
Hang on, Arvin. Hang on. Jackie. So the refraction was brought to the topic by me, Rebel, here, me, to which Jackie had conceded that, yes, refraction is a phenomenon regardless the shape of the Earth. Correct? Jackie, that's a question to you.
While we're young.
Can some Globers get in and just support Chikey? He's like teetering. He's like on the verge of death here. I don't know how he's even holding out. So he's
This
just
is
not,
why I don't like
he's
dealing
not
with
going to
him.
be
It's like
able
pulling-
to give us anything good now. So this is terrible.
Yes, it's terrible because I know your tactics now, and I know what not to say.
You know regardless.
Tactics, huh?
Okay, let's put the emotions
Apparently-
aside. Okay, answer me question. I brought refraction. We've conceded both that refraction is a phenomenon regardless of the shape of the Earth. You have conceded to that, yes or no?
Yes.
So, is it plausible, therefore, what you're looking at in the picture? You said taken in the afternoon of the sunset. Sun position appears to be lower than it actually is.
Possibly. Not very.
Okay. Adjourned.
With that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in on either the Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!